That's right. As best we can, we are here live in the 97.3 The Fan Studios. You know, just a week ago today, we were out at the backfields of Peoria, and time flies when you're having fun. That was a long week last week, wrapped up by one of our favorite things that we've ever done over the weekend. We'll talk about that in a second. I want to intro the show here. I'm Woodsy, by the way. That is Paul Reindl. He is our executive producer, put together a killer video for us over the weekend. Make sure you check it out on all socials. Paulie, good morning to you.
Good morning.
And now, the starting goaltender for your San Diego Seals media team, number 69, Ben Higgins!
Yeah!
Unbelievable night on Saturday night. I was a nervous wreck most of the day.
You were a nervous wreck.
I get nervous for you. I didn't want you to think, or people to think, like this was not my idea. Like, ooh, let's get Ben between the pipes.
This was not your idea?
It was not my idea.
I thought it was your idea.
It wasn't my idea. It was our sales.
I was blaming you this whole time.
No, it was our sales team's idea, and she pitched it, and I said, well, all right, if you'll do it, that'd be awesome. And you said, yeah, I'll do it.
I thought it was the sales team's idea that we had a Ben and Woods night at the Seals game, and it was your idea to put me in the pipes.
No, it was not, I promise.
Wow.
I would tell you. So, holy smokes, you guys. So I was nervous, man. I never want to embarrass you. I think it's great content, and I'm fine to embarrass myself, certainly. But I just thought, like, once they said it, I go, it makes so much sense. It makes so much sense. Now, I helped get everything organized within the organization and stuff.
You did a great job.
It was incredible. So we get to the, I get to the park that day. I text Ben. I didn't want to like dome him out all day. I'm just like, hey, by the way, the whole bit is going to be, we got like 3 minutes, okay? So don't panic. It's just going to be 3 minutes out there. And you're like, I'm fine, I'm good. All right, tell me. So if you missed the news, we put Ben in full lacrosse goalie gear. Now, box lacrosse goalie gear is different than regular outdoor gear. We put him in the entire shebang, had him out there at halftime, had a couple of listeners down there trying to shoot on him, and then we brought some junior SEALs out to shoot on him as well. And walk me through what happened. I was in the box. I was working.
Yeah. So let's see. Arrive at the game right as it's starting. Get to our seats right behind the bench. I've never sat that close
Pretty
to
cool.
the Seals bench, so we got to see all the players and the coaches up close, which was fascinating. But before the end of the first quarter, Jeff, who works for the Seals and the Padres, helps with the game
Great
day,
guy.
kind of how all the entertainment goes, and he was terrific. He brings me, and I meet Paul, and we go down below the bowels of Pechanga Arena, back to like the green rooms, and takes me back to a little dressing room where there is a giant bag of gear that's just sitting, waiting for me. And he says, "Go ahead, change into your athletic gear." So I brought a change of clothes, so t-shirt and shorts and socks, and I get that all on. I got my cup on underneath. And then he says, well, go ahead and get the gear on. So Paulie comes in. Paulie should get hazard pay because there's no way one person can just put this gear on by themselves.
No way, right?
You start, the first thing, they have an extra like cod piece,
Love that
giant
word. Cod
cup
piece.
that you pull up like underwear. And then there's the thigh and hip pad. So it's like a giant pair of shorts that go down to your knees and surround your legs. Then the shin guards, like big catchers' shin guards, even bigger, though, than baseball catchers wear, that go on each leg.
They're like goalie shin guards.
Goalie shin guards in the NHL from the 80s. Like the big
and
padding.
Paulie helps strap those on in the back. And then there's the giant piece, which is the shoulder, chest, just goes all over the top. And you kind of have to put it over the top of your head and kind of wiggle in, and then you just wear it like a big bulletproof vest that surrounds you. It's huge, it's heavy, and then a very tight helmet that has a neck protector hanging off of it. And I get that all on with Paulie's help, and he thinks it's probably going to take me a long time. I walk out. The second period has just started, so now I have to stand here
and get nervous.
Nervous, and I'm starting to sweat because it is hot in that gear. It is 40 pounds of gear that you're wearing, and I'm starting to sweat. But I've got gloves. There's big gloves as well that I put on, so there's no way to get to my head. So the sweat is just pouring off my head the entire 15-minute second period, which is really more like, 20, 25 minutes with all
There's
the stoppages.
timeouts and stoppages.
And then halftime starts, but there's the sirens, dancers go, and then the Frisbee dogs come out, and I'm still waiting, and it's like I'm starting to get tired, like just wearing this gear, doing nothing in it the whole time. Paulie's taken some pictures, done some video. Finally, you introduced me. I go out there. I mean, just walking is like a labor just to move around in the gear. Get into the goal. Got a little advice. They said use your left hand to just make sure you can touch the pipe so you know you're in front the entire time.
Yeah.
It's like a sense of where you are. Keep the stick down in the 5-hole. That's kind of try to stop some of the low shots because they'll try to get it between your legs there. And then just kind of lean left and right to try to block shots. You can't move. I mean, I don't even understand how those guys, I was watching them in the second half of Riglieri, who's the
unreal
Seals goalie, how much mobility he has.
He's so
in those
athletic.
pads.
He's so athletic.
It's so hard to move even a few inches either way when you're wearing them. That was incredibly impressive to see. But we had a couple of our tier ones that came out and started peppering shots at me. And I was told that they won't even be able to get shots on you. But like the first two are coming right at me. I'm like, okay. And the first one comes at me and I do a little flinch because I knew I would. It was coming high. And I was like,
you had a good, solid flinch.
I had a good flinch, but then it kind of hit me, and I go, okay, I can do this. And then I just kind of got in a zone.
He did,
and I started locking in, and they're peppering me two at a time.
He's blocking balls
and
like
I'm kind of leaning, and I get a stick save, and a few get by me, but there's balls that get by the professional goalies. I don't feel too bad about that. And they bring out the junior SEALs, a couple of kids, and they're even better at peppering me with them. But I block a few of theirs too. They know how to play lacrosse. And then Paulie just grabs one with his arm and just chucks it as hard as he can at me.
I forgot about that. He pitched one.
Paul. It's like, I don't have enough coming at me.
You didn't have to wear that one at least.
And then Woods, you grabbed one
you.
at the end and went low, and you scored on me.
Low always wins.
But it was it ended up actually being a lot of fun. I was exhausted after I took those pads off, just absolutely worn out just from 3 minutes in the pipes. And I'm thinking, these guys do it for the entire game. 4 quarters, they're in there the entire time. Newfound respect. I mean, I already had respect, but just absolutely incredible what they do. And yeah, look at me, just balls bouncing off my chest and off my arms, my legs all over the place.
Save that. Save that for sure. Absolutely save that for this morning. You looked very good. I mean, you came out intense, and you flinched bad the first one. I said, don't flinch. And you go, all right. And you dug in. It was really, really cool. Seals ended up losing that game, which was such a bummer.
Yeah, we left right after that last empty netter goal with like 30 seconds left. It was like, bummer.
It sucked. I mean, playing the night before in Fort Worth, they got in at 8:30 in the morning and then had to come back and do it all again. It's such a rough sport. I mean, it was chippy, it was violent. There was a lot of cheap shots. Toronto's really good too. So it was so fun to hang out with you guys and see you, and I was so proud of you. You did such a great job that night. My throat feels like hamburger. I mean, it absolutely feels like hamburger. I got to do it again this Saturday. There's another home game. I'm like, whoo, mama. So if I sound a little worse for wear this morning, it gets me, man. It gets me in there every time. So, but it was great. It was such good fun content, and I really think like they've never done a media game before, and they should. And if they do a media game at halftime, I will 100% hand my duties over to somebody else. And I want to go out and play in it, but I want you as our goalie. Like, you could absolutely.
Well, I'm the only one, obviously, in the media that probably has any experience in box lacrosse goal at this point.
So cool. That by the end of it, like, you had fun doing it.
Yeah, there was an element of fun to it.
Everyone was yelling
after
your
the
name
sheer
and
terror.
stuff. Yes,
after the sheer
so
terror
good.
expired, and I got in goal for a couple of minutes. Exhausting. I mean, one of the harder things that I've done, but ultimately, yes, it was fun, and it was cool, and it was a lifelong memory that I will cherish.
Who's gotten to do that? Like, who has gotten to strap on the goalie gear and go out there? Somebody said Ben Does Sports should be a regular thing, and I thought, I couldn't do it in skates. Imagine being
That's what I said. The first thing we got back to the dressing room. Now just imagine doing that on ice skates.
There's no way. I don't know how those cats do it. I can barely stand up. When we went to Arrowhead over Christmas, I was like, I skated when I was a kid. And I did okay, but I had a lot of wall grabbing as well. Out of control, slamming into the wall to stop yourself type scenes. I can't imagine standing between the goal, stick, glove, and just, there's just no way. There's just no way.
Can we get him in goal at a Wave game? Maybe Alex Morgan could just start
just blasting shots. Soccer goalie. I did it at the media game. I got nutmegged. It was horrible. It's the most terrifying. You have no idea where it's going. You're just guessing half the time. Just I have such respect for anyone that stands in goal or, behind the dish and catches guys burying splitters and throwing hard and all that stuff. What do you think would have been easier? Putting catcher's gear on and catching a bullpen of not like a bullpen from me and Paul, or that with that gear on catching
That's interesting.
Because you got to squatting.
I've done catching a couple of times when I was a kid. It's not easy.
It ain't the same as
harder on the knees to get down at this point and get down there, and you don't want to take a hard hopper off of you in the dirt, but. Yeah, I mean, it was a lot of fun, and I appreciate the Seals for letting me come out and do that. And Woods, you handled it very well, so it was a good experience.
It was so fun. I'm glad you did it. It was legendary, and the pictures of you that have come out in the gear, you look like a badass. And there's one where he's like his face is all locked in, like I've never seen that competitive face from you before. There's a whole level we haven't unlocked before.
Survival instinct.
Survival
pretty
instinct.
much all that was right there.
But you looked like you were ready to kill. It was a killer instinct, and I really it was fun seeing it. Hope everybody out there had a good weekend. We've got some Padres stuff to talk about, certainly. I mean, same stuff. We have guys battling for position. Saw a great tweet that really summed it up for me. We've got one starting outfielder, and then we have 5 to 6 really good battles for the 4th outfield spot. If we had left field, center field, right field all set, the battle for the 4th outfielder spot would be legendary. Problem is, 2 of those guys are going to need to slot into starters. We have a bunch of 4th outfielders that are battling for what should be 1 spot. It's really 3 spots. That's what we're doing.
And they're having good springs.
And they're having good springs.
Talk about it. You just don't necessarily envision them as everyday starters.
Correct.
We'll talk about that. It was a good weekend for the Padres for sure. Probably their best couple of days of spring training, the last 2. So we'll get you caught up on all of that. We'll hand out the menus for the show when we come back. What we've got planned for today. Padres balls bouncing off my chest and off my arms, my legs, all over the place.
What a great day!
This is the last full week of spring training in Arizona now for your San Diego Padres.
This is it, guys.
It's gone quickly. So we will come back, get you ready for a Monday program with Ben and Woods going until 10 o'clock. Paul Reindl, Stephen Woods, Ben Higgins, Kelly Danick's got the first check of traffic. Saw a little bit of mist and rain still this morning. It's not quite gone, so be careful out there. Ben Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Now, the Seals game wasn't my only big event over the weekend. Don't forget, after the show on Friday, I went in and hosted the Spirit of the Barrio luncheon as well.
Yes, I completely forgot about your Spirit of the Barrio.
It went well.
Did it?
Yeah. David Alvarez's staff was very excited to take a picture with me while I was there.
Mostly because you guys are twins.
Taller David Alvarez.
It's Paulie, will you do this side by side? I'll text you the picture. I have it saved in my phone. You know which one I'm talking
Yeah,
about.
But,
you have it. Email it to me.
I can email it? Okay.
I
done.
got to hang out with Mark Loretta, which was very cool.
The goat.
And Eduardo Ortega,
The
Spanish
other
language
goat.
voice of the Padres, who really does deserve to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, I think.
No doubt.
Jaime Jarin's in, and Eddie's he's just right below Jaime Jarin in terms of Spanish language broadcaster, national prominence, and he is just amazing at what he does. And I said that during the little talk, the Q&A discussion. I said Eddie needs to be in the Baseball Hall of Fame, and hopefully that happens sooner rather than later. And then Sergio Del Prado, who works for the Padres in their corporate partnerships office, he's a vice president, was there and had a little breaking news. I think they shared it on social media shortly after, but their new video and hashtag for the year, we debuted it at the Spirit of the Barrio luncheon with
You had it first.
hashtag, for the faithful. The 2024 Padres hashtag for Peter, for the fans, for the faithful. I like that.
That video that the Padres put out over the weekend
awesome,
was
man.
unbelievable.
Really cool. Really, yeah. We debuted that at the Spirit of the Barrio luncheon on Friday.
I showed it to Bo, and he watched the whole thing, and he goes, just like this quote, he goes, "Man, I'm ready for baseball." It was so cool. They did a great job on that. We could talk more about that. But so the luncheon went well.
Luncheon went well.
When you say that David Alvarez's staff really wanted to take a picture, were you serious?
I did. I took a picture with. He was not there. He usually is there, but he couldn't attend. But he sent a couple of his staffers,
And you could be his
and
stand
they came up with me. They came up to me after the program and said, "Can we get a picture with you?" And then tweeted it out as here we are with taller Assemblyman David Alvarez.
It's identical. I mean, it's identical.
I
It's
introduced
so good.
myself because I got a lukewarm applause, and I go, "Well, if you don't know me from my 20 years on television or my many now years on the radio, around here you may know me as taller David Alvarez," and that got the biggest laugh of the day. But no, we had a good discussion with Mark Loretta and Eddie and Sergio Del Prado. There's my lookalike on the YouTube stream.
I mean, it is just incredible. It is just so good. Yeah, Google David Alvarez.
But I got high marks for keeping it moving.
Yes, gotta keep
know,
it moving.
Good questions, and we didn't get a ton of questions from the audience. I was surprised. I thought we'd get more, so I had to kind of jump in and keep the discussion going for a little bit. But we got everybody out in time. The tamales were very good, and I will chalk that as a successful panel moderated again by yours truly.
Very good. Yeah, I mean, nobody does it better, to be honest.
All right, coming up today. It is a Monday. We got a whole weekend to go through of Padres content, how things went over the weekend, which was pretty good, actually, for your San Diego Padres. They did lose a split squad of games on Friday. Results don't really matter, though. But they beat the Giants on Saturday with an outstanding pitching effort from Michael King. 3 innings, 1 hit. He is looking very solid this spring, which I'd like to say is good news. It's just not. If he was looking bad, it would be very problematic because they're relying on Michael King pretty strongly this year to step up with more innings.
Maybe more than any other player on the team.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. If it doesn't go well with the Michael King extending to the full-time starters role, I don't know where the innings are coming from. They're already asking a lot out of him and some of the other guys. They're counting on him for a lot. They're obviously counting on Musgrove and Darvish to have good bounce-back seasons. They're piecing together a starting rotation and the number of innings that it's going to take to get through the 2024 season. And, yeah, I mean, they're gambling and counting on a lot of these guys having good years. But so far, so good this spring. For the most part, with the guys that we have seen, they've performed well. They look like they are in good form going into the season. There's enough competition where it's not like which of these guys who's not throwing very well do we have to put on our starting rotation. It's not. They can choose between several guys who are having good springs to be in the first iteration of the 5-man rotation to start the season.
Yeah, that rotation will add and subtract, and there'll be call-ups, and it's going to take it's going to take a lot, and frankly, it's going to take. I don't want to say a miracle, but because there are some good arms down there, Ben. But I've liked what I've seen so far, man. I've liked what I've seen from Mount Waldron. I think he's had a really, really nice spring. You want to see if he can carry that over, and that would be a huge load off for Ruben and his staff, and of course Mike Schilt. But we'll see, man. We'll see. There's a lot to be excited about. They made some moves over the weekend as far as
we'll talk about
reassigning
those
guys.
for sure.
We'll get to that.
I was surprised by a couple of those moves.
There's a surprise in there, certainly. I thought our friends at Mad Friars explained it pretty well, so we can get into all that.
Yep. Obviously, if there was a concern that the offense had not been, especially some of the regulars had not gotten going, but we saw a little bit of that yesterday. We'll talk about yesterday's 12-4 win over the Mariners as well. We will take a few moments, probably at 7 o'clock, talk about a guy who was important to this show, especially in the early days back at the old station. Chris Mortensen passed away yesterday. You might have heard, the great ESPN football insider.
He followed us over here, too.
He did.
Yeah, he did. He came on with us here as well.
First year we were here.
And all the tributes that poured in, we'll talk about it, but Chris was more than just a knowledgeable NFL talking head. He was a truly, genuinely nice human being to just about everyone, and you saw that with many of the tributes yesterday to Chris Mortensen. So you know how we do it. We'll shout out to his family. Coming up at 7 o'clock, Take on Woods is back this week. We have a brand new prize. Brand new resort, actually, in Las Vegas, a 2-night stay at the Fontainebleau. Las Vegas, and dinner for two, a chance to qualify if you can beat Woods or tie him in our musical trivia contest. Don't do this at 7:20, as we always do, and then we'll talk more Padres and get into what else went on this weekend. Sammy Spring Training should join us later in the show. I think Mike Schilt is speaking around 8:50.
Yeah, we'll get him at
5
Sammy
today
at 9.
So we'll do Sammy right after
9.
Mike Schilt talks, and he probably will have some comments about some of those roster moves that the Padres made yesterday, sending some guys back down to minor league camp, which generally means they won't be on the opening day roster for the San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I want to talk to the Tier 1s today, too. I'd like to hear from you guys. It's been a while since we've I want to get your pulse on where things are as far as your fandom goes. I'm excited. I mean, I think there's a lot to be excited about. I'm also pretty still confused. I think confusion is a apropos word, Ben, as to is this really what we're going down the road with this year? Because there are still guys. I spent my Friday night, I went to a buddy's 40th birthday party, and his dad, as you know, was Tony Gwynn's agent. Talked to John Boggs for a while about the state of free agency right now from an agent's perspective. And it was pretty interesting stuff. So I'll share that convo a little bit as well.
Did have one signing, big one over the weekend. Matt Chapman going to the San Francisco Giants. So we'll talk about how that impacts the NL West as well. But still, Blake Snell, Jordan Montgomery, still sitting out there. A number of other names that are still available in free agency. It is now March 4th.
Crazy.
And I mean, there's been some late signings, but this is beyond what I think we've ever seen before in terms of number of guys, number of quality players who are still available this close to the season.
Yeah, we'll go through the list, man, of guys that are still sitting out there looking for jobs right now.
By the way, I wanted to point out, because I saw Padre Bod in our chat, said he just got back from a 4-day trip to Peoria to watch my boys. What a blast. And he said the Padres vibe is fire in 2024. We weren't lying about that.
No, we were not.
When we went out last week. And there's two different discussions. The vibe, the feeling at spring training, it's undoubtedly good and better than it was last year.
No doubt.
The talent, though, is a big question mark.
No question.
They've got a much better vibe.
They could win 105 games. They could win 60
and
games.
I
have no idea.
They've got a much better vibe and much less depth and much less frontline starting talent. I mean, what's more important in baseball? To have the horses or to have the
feeling?
The good feeling with everybody pulling on the same rope and working together. I guess we'll find out.
We will. And you're right. One of the guys I work with at the Seals was out at spring training. He said, "Did you notice a different vibe?" I go, yes, of course I did. It's undoubtable that if we could win on vibes alone, nobody's beating this team. But it's also baseball. There's 162 of those that you got to slog your way through. How can you keep the same vibes and keep pulling on the same rope for 162, that remains to be seen. But the talent, like you said, there's some question marks still there.
All right, we'll come back. We'll start with the weekend that was for your San Diego Padres on a Monday morning with Bennett Woods. Don't go away. It's San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. For the latest Padres news, you can try listening to the Chapters feature from our show. Every day, each topic we cover is broken out so you can find what matters most to you. To get started, just download the Odyssey app. It is absolutely free. All right, Padres over the weekend, couple of wins in the Cactus League. Results don't matter, but certainly the decisions are starting to get a little more urgent for A.J. Preller, Mike Schilt and his staff on what that opening day roster is going to look like. We'll talk about that right after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Guys, we got some scattered showers hitting the county, so you definitely want to take that into consideration. Got a handful of crashes to go along with that. Southbound side of the 163 right at the 5, crash over the right shoulder. Also, southbound 15 at the northbound 5 connector ramp, there is a crash blocking the left lane of that transition. Now, northbound side of the 5 at Hawthorne, there's an accident involving an overturned trash truck at the 2 left lanes blocked, and collision on southbound 5 before Imperial. That's over to the right shoulder. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Driven to deep left field. Clase looks up, and Nando has left the yard. 2-run home run for Fernando Tatis Jr. puts the Padres on top 3-2.
Don Orsillo with the call on Padres.tv. Of course, we got to hear Jesse and Tony's call of that one as well, because that one was a good one for sure. Now, Padres Bod, who I just said was in Peoria, he said, that landed like 5 feet from me out on the berm at the Peoria Sports Complex, and he said it went into a lady's diapers bag.
Did it
was
really?
out there. That's what he said.
Well, he did S on that ball, that's for sure.
It was absolutely
It's a good place
and
for
on
it.
a good pitcher too. It was Luis Castillo.
Yeah, dude. I mean,
So not one of those minor leaguers they bring in as well. That guy is one of the better pitchers in the American League. So
Here's Jesse's call from that home run, too, because it was a bomb.
was
Spring
a
training
bomb.
or not, it was a bomb.
tank.
1-1 pitch. Tatis swings, hits it a mile to left field. Oh, my goodness. First hit of the spring for Fernando is a light tower shot to left center field here in Peoria. A 2-run home run, and the Padres lead for the first time today. It's 3-2. 1-1 pitch. Tatis swings, hits it a mile to left field. Oh, my goodness.
Sounds like Ben. Oh
my God.
that was listen,
Oh my goodness.
there's somebody rolling their eyes right now in their car or at home about us getting excited about a spring training home run. That being said, when your superstar player, your platinum glove winning right fielder, had not gotten a knock yet and breaks out of that very long slump with that, I yelped at the TV when he hit out. Like one of those. Like,
Tatis swings, hits it a mile to left field. Oh, my goodness.
So good. Yeah, great. That's what you want to see. You want to see him, barreling baseballs. It is a thing of beauty when it happens. And yeah, there was a lot to be excited about yesterday, Benny. I mean, we're going to get to the earlier games later. We'll work in reverse fashion, but they were horrific on Friday with runners in scoring position. Well, yesterday, 7 for 13 with runners in scoring position, which is trending in the right direction. Darvish was pretty solid, dude. He gave up a couple earned runs. I thought he was out of the inning. I thought the guy was hosed at second base by Campy, but inning kept going. He gave up a home run. But you look great. He's moving the ball well. 6 strikeouts and 3 1/3. 4 hits, 2 earned runs. He looked fantastic.
Yeah, a bit of a spring home run there. I think the most important thing is getting swing and miss and in
struck
the
out the
zone.
side in the first.
The 6 strikeouts, as you said, in 3 1/3 innings
Said he
for
feels
Darvish. Had the bullpen at the end. You saw Enyel De Los Santos and Steven Wilson, each with a scoreless inning to wrap up the game. Usat Go did allow his first run of the spring yesterday, but I mean, we'll see what it all means when we get to the regular season. But I thought Fernando's home run, it kind of broke the seal on some of the other guys as well. Ha-Seong Kim hit his first home run of the spring. Now, he's already been hitting. He's the one guy who has been consistently hitting.
He's batting .417.
All Cactus League. His OPS is over 1,300.
Yeah, pretty dirty.
This spring. So he's had a terrific Cactus League. And Campy got his first of the spring as well. And they all came inning, 4th, 5th, and 6th as the Padres overwhelmed the Mariners with 12 runs there. Do we have Ha-Seong Kim's call?
We do.
Oh, yeah.
This one is...
자, 4구째
그래요.
걷어올렸습니다.
볼렸어요.
자, 왼쪽 가는데요.
큽니다.
왼쪽 갑니다. 왼쪽 넘어갔어요. 넘어갑니다. 김하성의 시범 경기 첫 번째 홈런이 터집니다.
I caught Kim Ha-Seong.
야, 지금 고무적인 게
쓰리볼 상황에서 웬만하면 김하성 선수가 배트를 내지 않거든요.
네.
하지만
네.
올 시즌 이 스프링 트레이닝에서 공격적인 타격을 굉장히 많이 보여주고 있는데 지금
Fantastic.
I think understated, but it's spring, so I'm glad they weren't completely out of their minds like they have been on every other home run that he has ever hit. And I don't know if it's the same
Off the
guys
bat,
or
I
different
wasn't
guys.
sure that was gone.
Really?
I thought he got under it a little
Oh,
bit, and then
man.
that ball just kept carrying.
Slam that thing. I was watching it yesterday too, and listen again. Jackson Merrill was out in center field again, and the ball was hit a little bit to no man's land. He kind of gave up on one, charging in. Mostly, I think, because Hassan Kim was going back. We've seen this before. This is not something you want in spring training where you don't want to collide with your starting shortstop. He doesn't want a collision. It's spring training.
I would hope there's a directive like, hey,
Of
if
course.
there's any chance you guys are going to collide, just let it fall in.
Let it fall. And he ended up getting an outfield assist as the guy tried to stretch it for two. Jackson threw a seed to second base, got the guy out. Again, though, I think patience needs to be preached as that young man learns a new position, and we'll see. We'll see if he breaks with the club. It's not going to be pretty all of the time. It's not, but did contribute 2 knocks. Really good ABs.
I mean, can you see if the Padres don't acquire an outfielder, a Tommy Pham or someone like that between now and opening day, is there a scenario where Jackson Merrill doesn't open the season with the club? I mean, are you going with Sugar and Mercado and Locastro and Jurickson as your 4 outfielders other than Tatis? I feel at this point that Jackson Merrill, barring an acquisition, is pretty much got to be on the team and probably starting, likely in center field to start the season.
The only thing that makes it a little bit up in the air for me is just when talking to Mike Schilt, and I know it's not going to be Mike Schilt's decision ultimately, right? If Jackson Merrill makes the team, I think based on their holistic approach to the season, what did he tell us at dinner? He told us about how they develop guys like Tommy Edman, how they develop guys like Alan Craig, how they develop guys like Descalso, et cetera, et cetera. And the answer was 800 at-bats in the minor leagues. And Jackson Merrill has nowhere close to 800 at-bats in the minor leagues. And he did say, though, he qualified it with
Doesn't he have?
not 800.
No,
No.
I don't think so.
I don't think so. That's check it out, though. But I
thought he has exactly 800.
Does he? Check it out. But I think what he did say, he did qualify by saying there's exceptions to every rule, and Jackson Merrill, I think, is playing like a bit of an exception. Right now.
881 plate appearances, 800 official at bats.
Yeah, he does.
Oh,
Yeah,
he does.
He's got 800.
Wow. Okay. Did he say 800? He didn't say 800 AAA. He said 800 total at bats in the minor. Yeah, maybe he's then ready. But we'll see. I mean, I know that people are up in the air about it. But if he continues to hit like that, and look, man, you can get to the show and settle in, or you can get to the show and get absolutely embarrassed. It's happened to better players than him before.
He will look embarrassed at some point.
Oh, absolutely.
In the show, whether
Absolutely.
it's the first week or the first month or the first half of the season. At some point, it
so
happens
does
to
Tatis,
everybody.
so does Manny.
Exactly.
They all
Exactly.
at some point look embarrassed out on the field.
Xander's looking embarrassing right now when he's at the plate, and he's makes $280 million. So it there's no, if he's ready, he's ready. But I do. And I do see fans saying, is he ready or are we desperate? And I say to that, little bit of both, perhaps. You don't want to spend the money on going to get a Michael A. Taylor or somebody like that. But what can't happen is, I saw this weekend, based on the guys that they sent down, you start to do the math. Well, there's this many spots, and a couple of guys that survived those cuts, Jackson Merrill being one of them, Graham Pauley being another one, and Jacob Marcy being another one. You can't open the season with all 3 of those guys on your roster if 2 of them are not going to get any PT. They need to, if they're not going to play, they need to be down, getting work, getting at bats. So it would surprise the hell out of me if all 3 of those guys made the squad. Now, if they all make the squad and Paulie is your first baseman, Merrill is your center fielder, and Marcy is your left fielder, okay, it's nail biting time.
That feels really aggressive.
That feels
on the minor
very,
leaguers at the
very
same time.
aggressive, and I don't think it's going to
it's
happen.
kind of a darned if you do, darned if you don't situation for the Padres. That does bring us to Saturday's game, though. We talked about Michael King, another outstanding effort in Scottsdale against the Giants. 3 innings, 1 hit, 3 strikeouts. Robbie Snelling then came in through 2 more shutout innings. He's got a 0 ERA, but he was one of the guys that was sent back down to minor league camp. And it surprised me a little just because he's performed well enough that you thought maybe he was a guy that was still under consideration to be part of the starting rotation to open the season.
He was your surprise, Snelling?
Yes, Snelling
Mine was
my
Iriarte.
surprise. Iriarte was also a surprise.
He was my surprise.
He was also sent down to minor league camp, as was Ethan Salas. Obviously, he wasn't going to start the season with the Padres. But there are a few prospects who remained, including, obviously, Jackson Merrill, Jacob Marcy. Drew Thorpe is still in big league camp, the former Yankees prospect. So can assume he's still under consideration for part of the opening day rotation. And then Graham Pauley, who hit a home run on Saturday, remained in big league camp. And you could see him as potential depth. He's left-handed, correct, which is they need badly. They've been working him at first base, where he could possibly spell in as a designated hitter or for Jake at first base, and he remains one of the options for the Padres going into the season here.
Yeah, Matt Friars had tweeted that they were also surprised by Iriarte, but probably the right move for his development. So yeah, there's Drew Thorpe to me is a fascinating guy. The changeup that he throws, he's gotten big leaguers out. He's getting big leaguers out. Got big leaguers out over the weekend. Looks really, really, really good. And he's projected out as a starting pitcher. Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. That will be really interesting to see. But yeah, some of the guys that we talked about earlier, like the tweet I saw, I think it was from our buddy Christopher, who's really, really funny. He said, yeah, if we had an outfield that was set, like a Tommy Pham in left, let's just say for giggles, Michael A. Taylor in center, guys that have played and succeeded at the big league level. If we had a 3-man outfield of solid big leaguers, this battle for that 4th and 5th outfielder spot would be something else, because we've got a whole bunch of 4th and 5th outfielders, as it seems right now. Guys like Oscar Mercado, guys like Jose Azocar. Like, those battles would be really, really good. As it stands right now, though, I mean, are you really ready to plug Sugar in center and Merrill in center, Sugar in left, and roll? I don't know.
Both Mercado and Azocar had 2 more hits apiece on Saturday in that game. They've both had fantastic springs at the plate. We know Azocar is a very good defensive outfielder as well. This is where the spring results you have to take with a grain of salt.
Sure.
Guys who have enough at-bats in the big leagues where you've seen the track record, and you know that neither Mercado nor Azocar are stars in the big leagues.
What about Tim LeCastro, who is hitting like prime Mike Trout right now? He was 3 for 3 yesterday. He had 3 ribs. He's batting .833. His OPS is over 2,000 since he got here. Will that continue? The answer is probably no.
That was his first game, right? I mean, he's just here.
No,
second
he
game.
played
Friday and
game,
Saturday.
yeah.
So second game. I mean, he's just here. But yeah,
he's 4.
The Padres
he's
may
5
have
for what is he?
The best collection of 4th and 5th outfielders
6,
in baseball right now at spring training, which is worth very little when it comes to getting to the regular season, when you still need a 2nd and a 3rd outfielder.
And I'm looking at him going, I'm absolutely great with Tim LeCastro coming off the bench. He's fast as lightning. And, he was barreling the ball in the gaps. I mean, I'm like, all right,
This
fine.
is where A.J. Preller and Mike Schilt really have to draw on their experience and figure out, all right, which of these guys are just kind of spring locked in, and which do they really feel like can contribute and help the team during the regular season. To me, Azocar is still kind of the leading candidate, given his defensive prowess, the fact that he's been with the Padres on the big league roster. We found out really how much he is liked and respected, and a good clubhouse guy. I think that, not that Oscar Mercado is not. I just don't know anything about Oscar Mercado, and he's new to the team, which I would think gives Sugar a big edge to have one of those jobs right now.
Can't leave out Cal Mitchell either. He's having a really, really nice spring as well. So there is a glut of 4th and 5th outfielders. Now,
credit to AJ and his staff for bringing in some guys that are competing and giving it their all to make this team. That's what you wanted to do if you're going to go with a bunch of 4A type players and retreads. At least you seem to pick some ones that are coming in firing on all cylinders to start 2024.
I just think, and I know Dennis Lynn addressed it in his mailbag this morning, talking about what is taking so long to go out and get Tommy Pham. And Dennis essentially said he's looking to maximize his earnings. He had the most productive season in years. He turns 36 this week. They're trying to be judicious, the Padres, with whatever financial flexibility they have left. More on this later. So it's been something of a staring contest. Neither side has wanted to budge. And there's a few other teams that could use his services. Pham has a good relationship with AJ and Mike Schilt. We know that. But yeah, he does. Fangraphs does project Pham to supply the most wins above replacement of any remaining free agent left fielder. So it feels so, to us, it's like pull the trigger. Get Tommy out there and left, Jackson in center. You feel like that lineup is immediately deeper. And then you give that fourth and fifth outfielder spot to a LeCastro or a Mercado or a Sugar, whoever it may be.
There was also some activity on the backfields this weekend. They had a game like Joe Musgrove pitched in a inter squad game, I guess, that they had, and felt really good, especially at the end. Finished strong with a bunch of outs at the end, kept extending his outing as he continues to stretch out for what
60-something pitches.
Yeah, presumably
pitches,
going to be the guy on the mound for the first game in Korea, probably the home opener as well against the Giants on March 28th. And after, a couple of rough outings in the Cactus League, said he felt as good as he has all spring in that last outing on the backfields.
Still have Profar too. Yeah, there's somebody said for a team lacking in outfielders, we have a hell of a lot of outfielders. Yeah, absolutely. But Kez, to answer your question, which two of those are you going to plug right out there on opening day against the Los Angeles Dodgers and probably Tyler Glass now on the bump?
And he also had the first appearance of Leo De Vries, the Padres' newest international signing, the shortstop who arrived in minor league camp after getting through some visa issues. I think that pretty much means everyone who they thought was going to be in spring training is now at spring training, and he's in minor league camp, but wouldn't stun me based on what we talked about while we were in spring training to eventually see him at least get one of those call-ups to appear at the 6th, 7th, 8th inning of one of those Cactus League games at some point, like Ethan Salas did last year, fresh off being signed as an international free agent. So we could see a little bit of Leo De Vries at some point later this spring for the Padres as well.
Yeah, I do wonder. I wonder if there is still a move to be made. We've been wondering this for every day of the last 6 weeks. It does feel like a starting pitcher and a left fielder could do wonders for this team.
Yeah.
Now,
how cheaply can you get him still?
Exactly.
I mean, yeah, it's Tommy Pham wants to make as much as possible. Blake Snell wants to make as much as possible. They're not just going to sign for nothing, but they also want to get, going here. The season's weeks away.
Man, yeah.
We're getting close. All right, we'll come back. Someone who was important to our show early on, Chris Mortensen. A little shout out to his family, and Take on Woods coming up next. Had a weekend off for your San Diego State Aztecs basketball team, the Bye. They will return to action tomorrow night at UNLV, which is a pretty big game. The teams are tied for third place right now at 11-5 with Nevada in the Mountain West. One game behind both Utah State and Boise State. And, of course, Boise State comes to Viejas Arena on Saturday to wrap up the regular season. So the Aztecs, I think mathematically, can finish anywhere from first to sixth place in the Mountain West, depending on how they do in these last two games. And a sixth would be bad because only the top five get a bye into the quarterfinals of the Mountain West tournament. Everybody else has to play an extra game. It's hard enough to win 3 games in 3 days. You really don't want to have to win 4 games in 4 days. My guess is if they win these last 2 in the regular season, they've pretty much locked in a top 4 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yep.
Which, remember, is better than they had last year. Last year they were a 5 and made it to the national championship game as a 5 seed.
So if they win these last 2 regular season games,
even if they lost in the Mountain West tournament,
That's
I
what
don't think it would matter at that point.
Okay.
The committee definitely doesn't put as much emphasis on tournament results. Other than winning your tournament, you get the automatic bid.
Sure.
But if you lost in the quarterfinals or the semifinals, they have already started putting the names into the bracket at that point, and I don't think a loss there would knock. If they win these last 2, they're solidly a 3 or a high 4. I think they're pretty good with the protected top 4 seed at that point. So, but these two, I mean, they haven't been able to win a big road game yet, and this is their last chance to win one at UNLV tomorrow night.
So if they win the last 2, depending on what the other teams do, they're going to be a 1 or 2
1, 2, or 3 probably
for the
at
Mountain
worst.
West.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then the results of that won't really matter.
And then I don't think, they're in for sure, and I don't think you really need to go all out. Like, if you win your last 2 and you're Brian Dutcher,
it's hard to take
you probably don't even play Jaden Ledee as much as you would. You just try to keep everybody healthy at that point.
That's the thing, though. It's always that question of it just makes you sick. Like look what happens in baseball every year, right? Look what happens in baseball. Dodgers are leading the division by 15 games, and it's like, ugh.
Well, you're not sitting everybody. It's just you don't want Ledee
playing huge
35 minutes in 3 straight days when you've got a much bigger game coming up, likely on Thursday of the NCAA tournament week.
But you also don't want anybody to get flat, and you don't want anybody to lose the edge, and you want to make sure that they're ready. And it's just a hard thing to manage. But I do like the idea of just go ahead and winning these last 2.
That would be good,
and locking yourself into maybe a 4 seed. Now, if you win the Mountain West tournament, Ben,
maybe
3
seed,
3 or 2.
Yeah, possibly. If you win out, which would be 5 more wins. Yeah, who knows if they could get to a 3 or maybe even a 2, depending on what else happens around college basketball.
Be interested to know what the goal is. You never, as a coach, I don't think you ever say, well,
you're not punting.
You're not punting any of these games.
You're also being careful, I think, in those 3 games in 3 days. All right, we got Take on Woods coming up in a couple of minutes. New prize, get away to the Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and dinner. If you want to play our musical trivia challenge against Woods, 833-288-0973. You can call right now, get online, get on hold while we talk a little bit about a guy who was very important to us early in our show. Obviously, if you watched ESPN's football coverage over the last 25 years, NFL, primetime, game day, all of their shows. Chris Mortensen was a key insider. He had battled some health issues for the last 6 or 7 years. I think he was diagnosed with cancer back in 2016. Bounced back, though, came back on television. Was always one of the best in the business when it came to insider news and knowledge, but surpassed by the kind of guy he was. And we had that experience with him as well. Almost we were confused as to why he was always so very generous and kind and nice to 3 nobodies in San Diego. He didn't know us. We didn't know him. It was kind of set up for us when we first talked to him at our old station, kind of a weekly, let's get some football talk with a really good guest for Ben and Woods. And we had Mort on and going, he's not going to know us from Adam. What's going on here? And he always treated us with such kindness, respect, Paulie, you had a text from him when our station went away, like just out of the blue. He reached out to you.
Well, I reached out to him first after the station went under. We didn't know when, where, if we were going to get another job, but we had been talking to him. I think we had the draft like the couple weeks before that in April, so we had just had him on. And I reached out to him and I just let him know, hey, you may not hear from us for a while.
The Mort Report is canceled.
Yeah,
by the way.
I don't know if you
we don't
heard,
have a station,
but here's what's going on. And he texted me back, and it's up here on the YouTube chat if you're watching. It says, Paul, I saw that yesterday when I was traveling. So sorry and disappointed, as are many, many loyal listeners. Please stay in touch and give my regards to all who were personally impacted by this abrupt ending. All of you will remain in my prayers and best hopes. I encourage everyone to keep the hope, knowing it's easy for me to say because I have a job and an outlet. Please let me know if there's anything I can do on your behalf.
It's such a rarity. And that speaks to how terrible this business can be. That's the exception, not the rule. Mm-hmm. And Mort was the exception to the rule of most people being like, oh, sucks to suck, like sucks for you guys. And hey, is there an opening somewhere? That's just how this business works. Not with Chris Mortensen, man. He was a kind human being. As good as he was talking football, he was even better as a human, a father, a husband. I loved this tribute from Scott Van Pelt yesterday. Scott
said,
great
one.
Every single tribute to Mort is the same. The sincerity, decency, kindness, professionalism, and humanity of the man is referenced by every team, player, and colleague. Believe them all. Chris Mortensen was a wonderful soul. And we had not talked to Mort in a while. And I heard that news yesterday. It instantly broke my heart because he was so good to us. We had no idea what we were doing, none whatsoever. And he came on and just knocked it out of the park every single week. Never missed one, was always on time. True pro, kind soul. The world is a worse place with him out of it.
I like this one from Aztec Kirk Morrison, who tweeted, before Twitter was born, it was Chris Mortensen and John Clayton, where I got my up-to-the-minute NFL news. R.I.P. Mort, and tell John hi for us.
Oh, man, two of the best. Yeah. Two of our favorite guests we've ever had.
Really? Yeah,
I mean,
John Clayton
honestly,
was always great, too.
So good,
he was terrific. Both of them are missed.
Just great men. And good example for all of us to lead by, is the example of those two guys, and especially Chris Mortensen, always wanting to help.
This is the NFL Insider Report with a special edition of the Mort Report on Ben and Woods.
You still have the
That's
open.
So
Paulie
good,
keeps
man.
all the audio.
That's so good.
But if you would, as only Ben and Woods do.
It hurts.
Yeah.
In such a different way. When
Different way.
When it's someone you know.
Yeah.
Man,
It's our
here we
guy.
go.
And I really hope we can see more unity and more peace when already things are so difficult. So, shout out to his family.
It's a little different. Rest in peace to the great Chris Mortensen. We love you. He was so good. So good. So kind.
And now the always awkward transition to take on Woods.
Let's go.
Take on Woods, brought to you by Valvoline Instant Oil Change. It only takes 15 minutes. You don't have to get out of your car. For directions and discounts, go to SoCalOilChange.com. That's SoCalOilChange.com. And Guy is wasting no time. Tries to get in every single month. He is trying to get in for the new prize. Good morning, Guy. How are you?
Hey, guys. I'm great. How are you?
All right, here's what you're playing for. Beat or tie Woods, qualify for a 2-night stay at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, and dinner for two. Immerse yourself in timeless elegance at Fontainebleau, Las Vegas, a luxury resort, gaming, and meeting destination. The legacy of Fontainebleau, Las Vegas is built upon more than 70 years of sublime beauty, unparalleled service, and timeless design. Book now at FontainebleauLasVegas.com. All right, here are the categories for today's game. We got Lucky Sevens. Those are song titles that contain exactly 7 words. We've got Drive Time. Those are 5 bands or artists who all released a song called Drive. And we have Pour Me a Scotch. Those are 5 musical artists with a Mick in their name. So Lucky Sevens, Drive Time, or Pour Me a Scotch, Guy?
Geez. How about Scotch?
Scotch, the new category. Pour me a scotch. Again, today's category features 5 musical artists with a Mick in their name. You'll have 60 seconds to answer as many of the 5 as you can. If you don't know one, you can pass. We'll come back to it if there's time left on the clock. First question is the 2-second song. Paulie will play a little bit of music. You need to give me the title and the artist with the Mick in their name to score that point. I know you know the rules, guy. That's pretty much for everybody else. Are you ready to play?
I'll give it a shot. Let's do it.
Paulie, you're good?
I'm ready.
All right, 60 seconds on the clock. The category, pour me a scotch. Guy, your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Woods.
A long, long time ago, I can still remember.
The Day the Music Died by pass.
Which American vocalist had 9 solo albums?
Don McLean.
It is Don McLean, but it's not The Day the Music Died. Which American
American
vocalist had 9 solo albums and also sang with Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers?
Repeat that, please. Sorry.
Which American vocalist had 9 solo albums and also sang with Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers?
Pass.
Which artist's only #1 hit from 1988 begins with the line, "Here's a little song I wrote, you might want to sing it note for note"?
Bobby McLean.
Incorrect.
Bobby
Which queen of country performed the national anthem at Super Bowl 58 earlier this month or last month?
Rita McEntire.
Correct.
Reba
Which
McEntire.
Canadian singer-songwriter founded the Lilith Fair Tour featuring female artists? And the time ran out. You were a little slow on some of those. You said The Day the Music Died. It's American Pie. I don't think I can give that to you. You did get Don McLean. Michael McDonald sang with the Doobies and Steely Dan. You got Bobby... No, you missed Bobby McFerrin as well. It's not Bobby McFerrin. You got Reba McEntire. And then Sarah McLachlan is Lilith Fair. So I don't know if this... You might have to try again later. We'll see if your 1 score holds up. Here comes Woods. He doesn't get the category. Let's reset everything. Headphones on. 60 seconds back on the clock. Woods, your time begins when Paul plays the music. Good luck. Let's take on Guy.
A long, long time
It's
ago.
American Pie by Don McLean.
Correct. Which American vocalist has 9 solo albums and also sang with Steely Dan and the Doobie Brothers?
Michael McDonald.
Correct. Which artist's only #1 hit from 1988 begins with the line, "Here's a little song I wrote, you might want to sing it note for note"?
Bobby McFerrin.
Correct. Which queen of country performed the national anthem at Super Bowl 58 last month?
Oh, that's what's her name?
Come on.
Oh, it's Reba McEntire.
Correct. Which Canadian singer-songwriter founded the Lilith Fair Tour featuring female artists?
Sarah McLachlan.
Correct. 5 for 5. In the category, pour me a scotch. Those were all Mick artists.
Okay.
Don McLean, Michael McDonald, Bobby McFerrin, Reba McEntire, and Sarah McLachlan. And a win for Woods today over Guy. 5-1.
Oh, 5-1.
Good start. Yeah, Guy got a little stumbled early and
Guy's
just never
good,
recovered.
too.
He's usually very good, but wasn't his best. He can always try again sometime later this month. So no one qualifies for the Fontainebleau vacation just yet, but it's a long month of March.
I think if I win the month, I should qualify.
You should get
it's
to go.
only fair.
You should
I
get to
mean,
go to the
yes.
Fontainebleau, Las Vegas.
Like if no one, if I run the table for a month and no one beats me, I think I should win the prize. That would be amazing.
That would be. I have no problem with that.
That would be great.
Would you take me or Paul though? It's a trip for 2.
Well, I'd take Paul. Yeah. Sorry. Well, I know
That's a no-brainer.
I know he'd keep me
I come up with
company.
all these questions every single day, and you're taking Paul? I mean, yeah, he's got to play 2 seconds of music, but geez.
I mean, who's more likely to go to the Spearmint Rhino with me? It's Paul, okay? You did your one, and you're done.
Let's be honest. You probably should take Hannah if you're going to Las Vegas.
Fair.
but-
Yeah, Brandon just said he'd take Hannah. Yeah, that's true. I'd have to.
All right, Don't Do This is coming up next. Woods, you sent a NASCAR story to me over the weekend. I'm going, what is this? What is this?
I'm so confused by this. I wish Italian Paul, if you're listening, if you're up and listening, can you call in and explain this to me? It's so interesting. Cheaters never prosper, I guess.
I guess not. We'll get to that coming up next with Ben and Woods after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. All right, let's jump right into it. Don't do this for a Monday. And I will start in golf because if you've played golf, you've probably been there before. Just not having a great day, and you start to lose a little bit of focus, and then it gets really, really bad. And that happened to Thomas Dietrich, Belgian golfer. Has had a good season, was in contention at the Farmers Insurance Open at Torrey earlier, but at the Cognizant Classic at PGA National in Florida on Friday, he was probably going to miss the cut. He was already a few over par as he got to the 16th hole, 461-yard par 4. Started out fine, got on the green in 2. Then lagged his first putt, missed it pretty badly, was about 5 or 6 feet away. And then, and if you're following on the YouTube stream, you can see the video as well. Then things started getting really
a little bit earlier
awful.
at the 6th. He's putting for par. He's 4 over par. Now keep watching here, Brad, and see what happens here. This is a concentration
Now he's about 2 feet away, and then he just kind of whacks it, lips out, whacks it again, it lips out.
That's not concentration. That's like, get me out of here.
Hold on, here we go.
Okay. And then now, missed it again.
Didn't pay attention to that one.
And yep, there it is. That is it. That is a 6-putt, quadruple bogey 8, with the final 6 shots all coming on the green.
I can confidently say I've had plenty of 8s in my day. I have never 6-putted.
Never 6-putted.
I have 4-putted 1,000 times. I have never once 6-putted.
By the way, that tournament, they had rain yesterday, so they were not able to finish. They're wrapping it up this morning, and with 1 hole to play, Austin Eckroat is going to get his first PGA Tour win. He's got a 3-shot lead playing the 18th hole. Oklahoma State golfer out of Edmond, Oklahoma, 3 shots ahead of Eric Van Rooyen, who had a 63, birdied his first 6 holes yesterday. He finished but didn't play at all today. Just watched as Austin Eckroat pulled away and about to conclude the Cognizant Classic with his first PGA Tour victory.
Very cool for him. This is an interesting story. I sent it to the guys yesterday. We get a kick out of the edge, right? The fisherman story that we did last year is one of my favorites of all time. I mean, they almost killed these guys for putting lead weights into their bass or whatever. It was almost went to the Supreme Court. They had to give up their boat. Remember? They literally had to give up their boat. You're not allowed to fish for 5 years. These stories are fascinating to me, and there was one out of NASCAR this weekend. It has Joey Logano is a driver. He wore a glove, Ben, that had been clearly altered in qualifying at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. And
all right, this is where I started getting confused.
Correct.
Because drivers, obviously, they all wear driving gloves.
Correct.
Which I assumed was some sort of like steering wheel thing to just help them for the grip on the steering wheel. I had no idea that there was any like regulations. It's like sticky stuff in baseball.
Right.
Is it really that helpful to have? What is going on here?
So essentially what they're saying is the black glove that he was wearing on his left hand, which is the hand that you put out the window.
There's a hand you put out the window.
Apparently. So
wait, you're
blocking the wind, making you go faster.
Doesn't that make you go slower?
No, I guess not. I have no idea, but here's what they said.
So, like, if your dog is hanging its head out the window in your car, you're going to go faster because of that?
Apparently. So they say the black glove for his left hand had webbing made of an unspecified material in between every finger. It looked like a Spider-Man glove. And to have the guy holding it up, he's holding it up, and you can see clearly there's webbing in between the fingers.
So when you're going like 180 miles an hour, the shape of your glove that you're sticking your hand out the window makes a difference in NASCAR?
Rival driver Corey LaJoie did not flinch when he was asked Saturday if he was wearing the glove in the Daytona 500 qualifying. Yes. He also estimated the webbed glove was worth 3 counts of drag for Logano. So he won the.
It's like when you're going around a corner and you're trying to brake, you just stick your hand out and it like slows you down a little bit. This is so fascinating and confusing to me.
He says, as a driver, you work with the team, and hey, I'm going to take a portion of responsibility for that too. Obviously, I should. I put the glove on. I didn't build the glove or make it on my own. I can't sew. We had conversations about it.
Someone gave me a glove, said this will help you, and he wore it.
And then Brad Moran, who's the managing director of the NASCAR Cup Series, said, well, we spotted something that was honestly concerning. As you can see, the entire glove is webbed. The reason for that is you can obviously block more air. The drivers do put their hand up against the window opening, which we've never really had a rule against. This goes a step further. The glove becomes not only a competition problem, it goes a step further because it becomes a safety violation. I don't know how.
Do they have like the nets on the side? They take them down
But
after
there's like
they
a little
win.
slot, I think.
There's a slot you can get your hand through. Again, we need Italian Paul to explain this all to us.
Or like a physics, somebody with a physics degree.
I have you ever stuck your hand out the car like on the freeway
All
and
the
you're
time.
going like 60? I mean, it's like you feel it pretty strongly.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're going like 180, what does that even feel like? Like you're going to lose your hand that
Whip
way.
your arm back,
What if-
brace
I
your
mean,
shoulder.
And those cars are so close. What happens if a car comes past you and you're like, you trade paint and your hand's out there? Has no one ever lost a hand in a NASCAR race?
I have
is what
no
I'm
idea,
asking.
but it's a weird thing, and he was looking for that edge. He was looking to throw some weights in his bass, and they caught him with that webbed glove, and he got fined and the whole thing, and now everyone's going to be keeping a closer eye on Joey Logano, looking for that edge.
Learn something new every day. All right, finally, a little do this from over the weekend.
DD Mega Doo-Doo.
And yesterday, congratulations to the great Caitlin Clark of the University of Iowa, who has broken just about every record, and this is pretty much the last one. She passed Pistol Pete Maravich yesterday to become the all-time leading scorer by a Division I basketball player, men or women, in college basketball history. Did it in yesterday's game in the first half. Needed 18 points. Got there pretty quickly. She's been incredible all her career for the Hawkeyes. And did it in a victory over number 2 Ohio State. So it came in a very big game as well in the Big Ten. Caitlin Clark is an absolute star. We talked about her last week where she is not going to come back for her COVID year, extra eligibility.
Yep.
She's planning on entering the WNBA draft. Got to imagine she's going to be the first pick. Now, I went down a little bit of a rabbit hole. Just, you hear about Pete Maravich and Pistol Pete, and never really got to see him play, obviously, before my time. But he set the record in just 3 years at LSU because freshmen weren't eligible to play back then. So, I mean, he would score pretty much 40 points a game playing for his dad. I didn't realize his dad was the head coach, Press Maravich, at LSU. And Dad gave Pete full authority, basically, just
do whatever you want
to do it. And
Daddy ball.
But the other interesting thing about Pete Maravich is he did it before the advent of the three-point line, and he was a great outside shooter. Like a lot of his shots would have been three-pointers, but they only counted for 2 when he was playing. So who knows how many more points he would have had he played with a three-point line.
I've got a clarification for you.
Do you?
About the
glove?
About the glove.
Okay.
So Guzzinator says, so NASCAR Cup cars all have open driver's side windows with just a safety window net. Since that open window can cause aerodynamic drag, drivers will use their left hand. So they don't put it out of the car. They put it like in the little
to
slot
create a
to
window
create a window.
almost, to create more
Yes.
window.
That's exactly right. And so now you've got the webbing that blocks more of the air. They said maybe you get an extra mile an hour, probably worth it.
So if you had like a glove with like a Captain America shield just to block, the, whole door,
thing.
that would really be helpful. Okay, that makes a little more sense now.
Webbed glove that isn't safety approved is what got him in trouble with the rule makers, resulting in the $10,000 fine. They're allowed to block the window with their hands. Every driver does it, but he uses the wider webbed glove.
Thank you for that clarification.
I like that. Okay.
And then back to Pete.
I see why he did it.
So then in the NBA, Pete was okay. He made a couple of All-Star teams, but he played for the Hawks, who were really bad, and then the expansion New Orleans Jazz, who were really bad, and then he got a bunch of injuries and ended up retiring pretty early, and then sadly died playing a pickup basketball game when he was just 40. It turns out he was missing an artery in his heart.
Wow.
And they didn't know it, and he just collapsed and died at the age of 40 after he had retired from basketball. So Caitlin Clark passes Pistol Pete Maravich.
I saw, it happens anytime a record is broken, the brands will put out a tribute. Nike, Reebok, Under Armour, etc. And Nike had a really cool tribute for her. It's like a mock intro to a basketball game, and just listen to this.
Starting at guard, 6 foot from West Des Moines, Freshman of the Year, Player of the Year, winner of the Stain, Sullivan, Wade, Lieberman, Naismith, Wood, and several other last name awards. A 2-time All-American First Team, 3-time All-Conference First Team, 3-time assist leader, 10-time won't miss leader, 2-time Tournament Most Outstanding Player, current even more outstanding player. Whew. Conference Player of the Year, Player of the Month, Player of the Week, Player every minute, owner of the conference three-point record, free throw record, triple-double record, the Iowa State Fair shooting record, the women's all-time NCAA leading scorer, and your new all-time NCAA leading scorer, Caitlin Clark.
That's really cool. Well done.
She's a good basketball player.
Very, very good.
That's Don't and Do This for a Monday.
That was Don't Do This with Ben and Woods on 97.3 The Fan.
Hey, Tier 1s, you want to talk Padres baseball? You can give us a call, 833-288-0973. We should have some time for some calls coming up next. Also want to get into the moves over the weekend, including another move by an NL West rival of the San Diego Padres since we last spoke to you. That's coming up next with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Well, since no one's calling, I'm assuming that everyone's just happy with the status and state of the team right now. That's what I think. Because I've seen you on Twitter. I think there's some people nervous, and I think there's some still angry Padres fans out there. I think even we said, and I got a guy like, I don't want to say called me out, but he brought up a good point. And I had a nice discussion with this gentleman on Friday it's hard. If you catch me on a Friday after the week's over, I just spent 20 hours talking baseball with you. For the most part, I'm less apt to dive right in. Now, you catch me on a Monday, let's get into it, right? But on a Friday,
I saw this.
He saw that, yeah.
He challenged you.
Us.
Why
are you just putting it on me? You
said the
same thing.
I just let you handle that
as usual
thread, but not holding the team accountable enough for the lack of moves in the offseason, for filling the open spots that they need to fill on the roster.
And I thought it was a valid point. And I said to him, look, we've talked about it ad nauseum. I can't go down there and say, you better spend some money right now. Now, I can't say it on the radio. Yeah, it'd be nice. It'd be nice if you guys added some pieces that you're probably going to need. Who are we kidding here? You need more innings from your starters. You're counting on a lot of coin flips.
I said it many times last week. I am not on board with the reset or punting, whatever you want to call it for 2024, because that's one more year that Xander's older, one more year that Manny's older, Darvish, Musgrove. Yeah, we hope that the young guys are really superstars in 4 years, but I'm thinking about this year, and I said, find $38 million, go get Pham, go get Snell, let's ride. Come on.
Try to figure it out. So there's a DH role that is going, unfilled right now, certainly. And it's not like there aren't guys out there. I think that's the real bugaboo for fans. Now, what we don't know and what we are not privy to is exactly how much money they have to spend. We do all agree. We all agree that teams do at some point need to reset their luxury tax scene. They just have to do it. The Dodgers did it last year. Look at the offseason that they had this year, okay? I don't know that we're ever going to see the Padres spend like they did in the past. And is that okay? Okay. I mean, is it okay? What choice do you have?
Right? I guess part of I think you're right. If it was simply about, how much money are the owners making and spend a little more of that on the team.
Correct.
I think it would be easier to criticize. But when there's also competitive disadvantages to going over the luxury tax, draft picks, international signings, just the difficulty it is to remain competitive consistently if you don't eventually reset, I understand why it has to happen. Now, I think there's a discussion. Should it happen this year? Should it happen next year? When do you do it? The more you put it off, though, the higher the penalties keep going. Every time you go over the luxury tax, the penalties get steeper and more difficult for you to work around. So like anything, you don't want it to get out of hand where you're really now in trouble going into the following season when you felt like now we're going to have some of these younger prospects coming into their own with a little bit of experience. We'll have a bit of a deeper roster, and we'll have some flexibility where we can spend a little bit more next year. It doesn't mean you're punting on this season.
No, it's hard to sell. It's just hard to sell. It's hard to so when you trade, and I said it on the air too, like, all right, so they've traded Juan Soto. That will free up the $30 million or whatever he was going to make. So you
call it $30 million.
Call it $30 million flat. Okay, great. So that frees up that. Spend 25 of that. Right? Does that make sense to everyone? I don't know that it exactly works that way. I'm not on here saying I don't want them to spend money. Absolutely. I'm always the one waving the, prospects are prospects, flags fly forever. And I want them to spend money. Somebody asked in the chat just now, are they leery of spending money because of how poorly they might have spent money in the past? And that could be a definite idea.
If you don't trust A.J. Preller to spend money wisely, then he shouldn't be your general manager anymore.
That's a really good point.
If that's the reason, then what's going on here? Now, if there's competitive reasons, if you want to, if you want to say, hey, we want the flexibility at the trade deadline,
That's
if we're
another-
playing well,
that's
that we
another
want to be
thing.
able to take on a good player with, $3 or $4 million extra in salary in August, in September.
But
that's a strategic decision that you're making as well.
The television deal too, guys. I mean, that is a huge thing. Will the Padres make money this year? I think they will. I know that owners are, and there's so much unrest, I guess is a good word, between what's going on now with Eric Katsenda really being thrust into this role, which he was groomed for it by Peter. Everyone knew the writing was on the wall, and Eric Katsenda. But do you agree, Ben, that do you think if Peter Seidler was still with us, that they would be spending more frivolously? Even, let's say he was in perfect health, and they spent frivolously last year. Do you think he would be spending frivolously this year, knowing what he knows now, spending that money, not making the playoffs, costing themselves playoff revenue? Or would he even have taken a step back and said, let's be smart about Juan Soto? We all know, Yankee fans are now starting to realize, too, he's there for a year, and it's going to cost you a fortune.
It's a loaded question.
It is
because
loaded.
if he's in perfect health, and no one in the Padres has ever copped to this or admitted it.
Correct.
But if he was in perfect health, I don't know that they spent as much last year. I don't know that they signed Xander Bogaerts. I still feel like there was a knowledge that Peter's time may be limited, and this may be his last chance to see a World Series title, his dream, what he wanted, and the fact that they offered Judge and Turner and Bogarts, and none of us were expecting that in the offseason, and it didn't make a lot of long-term sense, tells me that, who wouldn't? Wouldn't you feel that way? You own a baseball team, and I may not be around
I live
next
like
year.
That. I live like that anyway. And
go for it.
Yeah.
If you can sign one of these guys, go for it. And I just feel like there was maybe some directive or at least feeling of that.
I don't think Juan Soto gets traded if Peter was still alive and in good health.
Potentially, yeah. He plays this year out.
That means you're remaining all in for this year.
Yeah, and you do
want figure out next year when you get to next year.
You do wonder too if Waka decides to leave, if Lugo, if you're not picking. If I wonder if Peter was here, are we picking up those options? Which again,
if you don't trade Juan Soto, let's say the Padres didn't trade Juan Soto, what does their pitching staff look like right now?
Well, then you would have had to pick up options on Lugo and Waka. It looks the same as it did last year, other than, Blake Snell.
Okay, but now your payroll is $290 million this year, or whatever it's going to be to sign all those guys and keep Soto at the same time.
Yeah, I don't know that. I can't say with great faith that Peter would have never let Juan Soto walk in free agency.
And you have no TV deal.
Because it's not Peter's decision. It's Scott
they
Boris's.
They paid $37 million in luxury tax. So if they go even higher with more penalties, that's a payroll of like $280 plus another $60 or $70 in luxury tax penalties. Padres can't do that. No team can do that.
Let me ask you a question, though. So if it was really, if the offseason was about, hey, my time may be limited here. I want to offer Judge $600 million. I want Trey Turner here. And I want Xander Bogaerts. I do feel like if one of those had signed, Xander's probably not here. And I think that's a fair thing to say. Mm-hmm. That being said, if that really was the plan, why at the deadline, when you were still reasonably in it, why did you buy on the margins? If that was the deal, why didn't you go out and really try to bolster the team? So all of these theories, I'm not saying anyone's wrong. I'm just saying we'll probably never know the answer to it. Okay, we're not in those meetings. We're not privy to that information. But so when I saw the deadline and I went, yeah, I kind of want them to. I like what I've heard about the young guys. I don't really want to trade these guys for half-season rentals. I didn't have the feeling that this team was ever going to come together last year. The season before, I was fighting people daily. I felt it. I believed it. They went to the NLCS. Last year, I never felt like they were really going to turn it around, no matter who they got at the deadline. If they went out and traded for a Giolito or whoever was moved, I never felt like it was going to.
By the time we got to the deadline, we had 60% of the season in the books at that point.
Yeah.
Like we knew they were what they were.
You kind of had the feeling of like, man, this is going south, and it's going south quick. So okay, buy on the margins just to say like we're going to do something, and they did something. Nobody really helped down the stretch at all. So I don't know. Do I want them to spend money? Yeah, absolutely. Do I think they should? Yes, I do. I absolutely think that there is still money to spend and that they should spend it.
And remember, I mean, Soto's going to be a free agent this offseason.
And that no one is standing in that way.
I don't expect the Padres to make a big play, but if they get under the luxury tax and they want to get in on that discussion, they can have their cake and eat it too. They can have Soto and all the Yankees prospects next season. It's not out of the realm of possibility that they could go after Juan Soto in this next offseason, especially if they stay under the luxury tax this year. Let me get to Brad before we go to traffic, just because he called in, wants to sound off. Brad, good morning. Welcome to Ben and Woods.
Hi, Brad.
Good morning, gentlemen. Padre fans since 1970.
Nice.
Remember, keep the faith here, boys, all right?
Yes, sir.
I like the direction. I'm glad Soto's gone. He's a younger version of Tommy Pham as a left fielder, all right?
Yeah, the defense is a little bit tough. I get it.
Tommy's best moves were at a nightclub somewhere, and he lost that one too. So let's just go on forward here. I think I like the young guys coming up. I think their pitching's loaded. Their minor league pitching is loaded now. I think the give the left fielder the guy hits now. The new guy coming up, I love it, and I think they'll get the fix. Now, the one big thing hanging over baseball is Boros as an agent.
Yep.
He's priced these guys ridiculously. Inside trader. Information I know, these guys are sitting on the sidelines crying to play, and Boros is like, hang on. And they're not going to hang on. It's going to be terrible. I think we're going to Snell back this year. I really do. I think we'll get a one-year contract.
It would be tough, man. It would be tough to stay under. Again, this is all perception of what we think we know about their finances. And I do feel like that there's money to spend, though. I do. Now, I don't know, guys, if there's been some directive from above to say, no, this is what you get, and, you don't throw a fit.
Well,
my
we
6-year-old
do
says.
have some breaking news this morning on a 9-figure pitching deal. Get to that right after a check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Headaches out of the South Bay this morning, northbound side of the 805 at a crawl. They did clear this crash past H Street. It continues to stay pretty heavy, though, up toward University. Now, northbound 5's biggest problem is this overturned dump truck at Hawthorne. It's got the 2 or 3 left lanes blocked. So, yeah, once you get past that, though, you should be in pretty good shape all the way up. Caltrans doing a little road work on southbound 163 just before the 8. Looks like there's a large pothole in the left lane. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I like that what Ben says in the chat here. Not you, Ben. Ben Weir says, seems like every season is some degree of an S show. Being optimistic about this mess of a year ahead is extremely delusional. I have good days and bad days where I'm like, okay, I kind of like where this is going. When I was at spring training, again, I was the vibes were great, and everyone seemingly is relaxed and they're having fun. And you do let yourself believe. I think this team could. You hear it a lot. I think this team could surprise a lot of people.
I'll tell you what, 10 years ago, the odds, I would say, of San Diego State making the national championship game in basketball were way less than the Padres winning a World Series. So if that can happen, anything can happen. It's sports. I did a little bait and switch on you. No free agent signing this morning. It was Zach Wheeler who reached agreement on a 3-year, $126 million contract extension with the Philadelphia Phillies. That computes to an average salary of $42 million per season. It's the most lucrative extension in baseball history in terms of yearly value. And I don't know what this does to the free agent market for Blake Snell.
No idea.
But
none.
Blake Snell is actually 2 years younger than Zach Wheeler. Zach Wheeler's terrific, but Blake Snell is left-handed, just won his 2nd Cy Young Award. And from the reports we're getting, he's getting offers like close to half of what
20-something million a year.
20-something million a year compared to $42 million a year that Wheeler just signed for. If I'm Scott Boras and Blake Snell, I'm going, why am I not getting $40 million a year offers? What is it about Zach Wheeler? Now, yeah, he pitches a little deeper into games, maybe a few more innings, but is that worth double the Cy Young Award winner, essentially?
So Sarah Langs, who's incredible, is throwing out numbers left and right. Numbers that you think but most F4 among pitchers since the start of 2020. Zach Wheeler leads everybody with 19.3. His regular season in 101 starts, he's got a 3.06 ERA with a 1.06 whip. His postseason, Ben, in 10 starts, 2.42 ERA with a .73 whip. His .73 whip in 10 career postseason starts is the lowest in any 10-start span in postseason history, and it's his very first 10 starts. So they see him and go, we're a playoff team. We have to have Zach Wheeler, and we have to have him here for the next 3 years, and we're going to pay him an exorbitant amount of money.
And they did the same thing with Aaron Nola earlier in the offseason as well. So they extend both of their top 2 pitchers, as the Padres did last year. They extended both Joe Musgrove and Yu Darvish. Their top 2 pitchers are locked up as well, just like the Phillies.
It is pretty interesting, man, to see the switch in fans, and I agree with the switch. There should be a lot more unrest this year about last year. Last year, we were all beating our chest thinking we are marching to the World Series. This team's going to roll out of bed and win 100-plus games. I would have bet my house on it. I would have been without a home, certainly. There is a lot more unrest. I think that's a good thing. I think the players know it. I think they feel it. You heard them talking about it to us at spring training. They realize there's a job to do. They still need help. There's still guys that can help this team win more games this year, and they're sitting there on the sidelines. It's not our job to figure out how to make it work. It's A.J. Preller's job and Eric Katsenda's job to make it work. There's money to spend. You have to spend that money. You cannot just pocket that money, in my opinion.
The other move the weekend that I teased in the NL West, of course, Matt Chapman going to the Giants on a 3-year, $54 million deal. Opt-outs, though, every season. Looks like he'll want to go back to free agency next year if he does well this season. And the insiders say it doesn't take the Giants out of the running for Blake Snell.
But Farhan basically came out and said they're not in the market.
We'll see.
So
who is left in the market other than the Yankees?
Guys, I feel bad for
who
him.
already
I really
pivoted
do.
with Stroman. So who knows? All right, we'll come back, reset everything. Second half of Ben and Woods on the way next on 97.3 The Fan.
Oh, yeah. Halfway home on a Monday. Ben and Woods 97.3, The Fan. Great to be here with you. Beautiful day ahead. Of course, it rains on the weekend. The Tier 1 baseball game got rained out yesterday. We'll get it all figured out. Our Little League opening day and home run derby was also rained out, which was kind of a bummer. Now they're going to reschedule it for a Sunday, which we have Tier 1 baseball on. It's really, really coming up woodsy lately these days.
I did not have a rain out.
Paulie got to do his. I'm Woodsy. That's Paul Reindl, the executive producer. Ben Higgins, your friendly neighborhood sports anchor and new box lacrosse goalie. If you missed that, there's video everywhere. It was incredible. Paulie, you did the MC for which Little League
Rancho
again?
Penasquitos Little League.
And you got to see our pal Arky, who we just adore.
He threw out the ceremonial first pitch.
And you had to read all the kids' names.
Who is more famous, you or Arky?
Ooh, Arky. Come on.
He played for the Padres.
He did
He's
play
a big
for the
leaguer.
Padres.
World Series.
Yeah, he's a big leaguer.
I'm not surprised, but Paulie's very popular
Very
nowadays.
popular.
In the PQ.
So I did not have to read too many kid names. It was every team, and then the team would run down the tunnel.
Okay, that's good.
And then led by coach, whoever the coach was. But it was great. It was it rained for about 10 minutes in the middle of all of that, and then the rain held off for the most part. But the Friar was there, the Pod Squad was there.
Oh, that's killer. Wow.
UCSD's baseball team was there, so our buddy Eric Newman got to say hi to him, and they were the players. They made the tunnel for the kids to run through, and it was great.
So,
and Arky comes up to me and he goes, "Oh, are you doing the MC?" And I had the script in my hand. And I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Oh, phew. Somebody will say my name right this time."
Yeah, that's exactly right. Well, I'm looking.
You should have butchered it just for fun.
Archie
Froco.
I'm looking at the modern names of trending boy names, and if Paulie did have to read, and there's plenty of girls that play Little League as well, but I'm looking at the trending names right now. You could here's Arlo, and now Bodie, Leonardo, Lincoln, Kai, Mateo, Maverick, Theodore, Ashton, August, Ezra, Elijah, Jackson, Bennett, Charles, Noah, Asher. Yeah, my team is
Charles. That's a classic.
It is a classic. On my team, I've got a Bo. He's mine. I've got a Brixton. I've got a Mason. I've got a Jack, old school.
These all sound like careers. Like, I'm a Mason.
I'm a Mason.
I'm a Brixton.
I'm a Brixton. It's not bricklayer. Brixton, though.
Brixton would be a good name.
It's a good name for a bricklayer.
I'm a Brixton.
I've got a Jackson with an X. I've got all kinds on my squad.
They changed tires. Jacksons.
Yeah, yeah. So, well, that's good, Paulie. I'm glad you did that. Nice to go out there and give back to the community on your weekend.
Yeah, it was fun.
Very
Love
nice.
it. Love opening day.
Ben
I said part of my speech was, doesn't matter if it's Rancho Penasquitos Little League or Petco Park, opening day is still a special day you always remember.
My kids, Bo was so bummed, because they had the home run derby that day too, so that's all been pushed back, and the rain has really thrown a monkey wrench into a lot of things around. They canceled it on Friday. They just said it's coming, it's not happening. They have 700 kids or something coming out, so didn't want the muddy fields and all that, and then our game got banged, and oh, man, just spent a lot of quality family time, though, this weekend, which was lovely.
All right, coming up here on the second half of Ben and Woods, we'll continue our Tier 1 tour of other Major League Baseball teams. Today we are in Chicago White Sox camp, looking at the Southsiders. That'll be at 8:20. Paulie's going to do his Reindl Report, I think, at 8:35, so Sammy can join us from Peoria in our 9 o'clock hour after Mike Schilt is scheduled to talk near the end of this hour, get you an update on the Padres on a Monday morning. If there's anything new going on out there, Sammy will have it for us as he gets to his final full week. What is it? A week from Wednesday, Padres will wrap up their spring training stay and hop on the plane for Korea after their game on Wednesday. I think they'll have that prospects game then on Thursday, and that's pretty much it for the Arizona portion of spring training. So we're getting near the end already. I'm sure Sammy can see that finish line. He's been there 3 weeks now, so he can see that finish line coming up. So we'll get an update from Sam Levitt coming up in our 9 o'clock hour this morning.
I don't know about you guys, but talking about spring training and position battles and all that is really fun. I am ready for the real thing. I'm ready for my fantasy baseball draft in 2 weeks. I'm ready to get this thing going, man, and see what we really have, and really to see if there's any additions to this team. My buddy David sent me this just now, and I guess Dennis Lynn kind of addressed the Peter Seidler situation. I think it was in his latest mailbag, but maybe not. It says, there was a thought around the organization last season that Peter Seidler's big bet hinged on a deep playoff run, which never happened. We've talked about that ad nauseum. When you find out what a team makes, what the flagship radio station is able to do during a playoff run, it's incredible. I mean, it cost a lot of people a lot of money.
It's almost like you're at a casino.
100%,
okay,
man.
if we can go on a little run here at the
Yes.
blackjack table, we'll be in good shape.
That's
but
exactly right.
If we bust on the first couple of hands, we're in trouble now. We got no funds left.
And they busted, man. The collapse of the Padres regional sports network also hurt. It has crushed teams. It has crushed teams like the Texas Rangers, who won the World Series, got all that playoff money, got the World Series money, and still have curtailed their spending in free agency.
The fact that Jordan Montgomery hasn't been re-signed by the Rangers
is absurd.
Has got to be incredibly telling as to what the finances of these teams without the TV deals are going through right now.
No question. And so Dennis also says, this isn't to say that the Padres will never pay the luxury tax again, but the days of paying it in multiple consecutive years might be over. It seems unlikely that a future owner will match Seidler's appetite for spending in a smallish media market. And even if Seidler were still alive, the Padres, who committed before his death to return to compliance with the league's debt service rules, likely would be reducing expenses by a significant amount. So whether Peter was here or not, at least per Dennis Lin, it sounds like there would have been some sort of hard reset anyway.
I think that's fair. And I'd forgotten about the whole debt service. I mean, remember, it's not simply internal pressure. It's also external pressure. We've heard it from Rob Manfred, from other owners, how unhappy they were with Peter Seidler. But they also have mechanisms in place where they can put, more pressure on the Padres to spend less and say, hey, we're going to have to start levying penalties. If you're not in our debt service compliance rules, this happens or that happens. And that would be even out of Peter Seidler's hands. I think he had a little more ability to push back, given his credibility with the commissioner's office and how good he's been for the game and for baseball in San Diego. Without Peter, though, there's no one left who can really push back on Rob Manfred and what he wants and what the other owners want. Padres are in a position where they kind of have to comply, at least in the short term, with what Major League Baseball is telling them that they need to do.
And again, hearing from as many fans as we do about this team, it's constant, man. My DMs go crazy. People wanting to talk about this team still. I think the fervor for the team still exists very much, and the merch still flies off the shelves, and people are excited about what we have, and people that have gone out to spring training are all talking about, they still believe, and I think I still believe too. I'm really interested to see what they can do. You do fear. We've had better rosters that ran out of gas, right? Like we've had better rosters, better pitching, and we've run out of gas and run out of pitching. I'm interested to see, Ben, if what you said remains true. We have not heard it from any of the brass or anything like that. If they are hanging around at the All-Star break, I feel like the feet's got to be to the fire there too, of saying like, okay, like I understand that there might be a want and a need for a Roki Sasaki next year. That has nothing to do with it. You have your international money. You have it ready. You're ready to go. You can make the same bid that anybody else can. It's a matter of whether he wants to pitch here with his hero, Yu Darvish, or not.
A little less if you go over the luxury tax.
A little less if you go over the luxury tax. Now, you don't have to make moves at the deadline that puts you over the luxury tax. You don't. There's ways around all of this.
No,
How creative can you be?
I fully expect if the Padres are in it. I mean, we
make
just talked
moves.
about the rewards of making the postseason. You go for it. That's why teams go for
100%.
it if they have a chance at it. I want to talk about the lineup for a second here. And normally I wouldn't waste a lot of time because, as you've seen in recent years, you can go 162-game season. And there's teams that have 160 different lineups in a 162-game season. The days of the manager writes out the same lineup every day for a week, and then maybe there's a Sunday lineup that's a little different. Those are long gone. It is tailored to the pitchers you're facing, the teams that you are facing. They change a lot, but I think Mike Shilt's been unusually consistent with his lineups in spring when the regulars are in. Take, for instance, yesterday's lineup against the Mariners. Fernando Tatis Jr. leading off. I think, what is that, the fifth or sixth time he has led off this spring. Xander Bogaerts batting second. We've seen him consistently there. Jake Cronenworth hitting third. He's been there a lot. Manny Machado DHing, cleaning up, and Ha-Sung Kim batting fifth, and even Luis Campusano batting sixth. And it seems as though as you continue to see that lineup on a regular basis, that Mike Schild already kind of has it in his mind and wants these guys to feel comfortable in the spring where they're going to be hitting in the regular season. Would not shock me if that is at least your top 6 on opening day against the LA Dodgers.
Yeah, and I love
that order.
I loved AJ Casavel's piece that he wrote for MLB.com. Basically, it says Cronenworth should hit third, and here's why. Look, it's lineup construction. Your 5 best players based on WRC plus, Ben, are all right-handed hitters. They're all righties, and at some point you're going to have to split that up a little bit. Now that's Jake Cronenworth needing to really, really come through this year. Now, if the opposing manager uses a lefty with 2 outs and Cronenworth at the plate, he's not terrible against lefties either. He's got a 703 OPS. You'd love to see that number go up. But if it's a matchup thing, you do need to split up 5 righties at the top of your order. And so I like the case that he made from it. Now, it's going to fall on Jake to go out and produce.
Tatis was asked about it yesterday. Sammy got the audio about leading off, and he had a fun quote. I think he said, "It's great. You get a wild horse, coming up to start the game if Tatis is in the leadoff position, which is, if I'm an opposing pitcher, so not the easiest way to start your game to see Fernando Tatis Jr. standing there in the box. And you can say, well, he's got all that power. Don't you want other guys a chance to get on in front of him? But he's also got a ton of speed, so when he does get on, he's not going to homer every time.
The only thing that makes me...
when he's there, he causes so much havoc that you want them on the base paths when your other guys are coming up, too.
It does, but the only thing that makes me nervous about it at all, and we can, it's fun to bandy about lineups and kick them around and what would you do. I probably wouldn't have him lead off, Ben, because of what the bottom of the order potentially looks like. How many opportunities is he going to have to come up with men on base? If he's coming up 4 times a game with no one on, okay, yeah, he has the potential to hit 4 home runs in a game, but they'll all be solo shots. So
it's a good point. Well, you're only guaranteed to lead off the once to start the game. The way the Padres' bottom of the order looks like a weakness, is it always just going to be bases empty, 1 out, 2 outs, whenever he comes up again? Is he going to have a chance to drive in runs at the top of the order?
It's not super balanced with righty and lefty, and it's very top heavy again, as it was last season as well, and you had down performances from the guys at the bottom. Now, what if the guys at the bottom of the lineup play like they did yesterday and are lights out? Great. Toddy's coming up with a chance to do damage and drive in runs, but that's the only thing I would think of. In an ideal world, if you had a prototypical leadoff hitter, Fernando Tatis maybe in the 2 or the 3 would be pretty dirty, but he may come up fewer times.
Yeah, I wonder if that hurts like an MVP, season for Tatis. If he hits 280 with 40 home runs, but only drives in like 92 runs, are going to go, well, I mean, where are the RBI totals? It's like, well, you can't drive in runs if they're not on base in front of you, and he may not have that many opportunities if he consistently bats leadoff for the Padres this season.
Did Mookie win an MVP batting leadoff? He's won an MVP.
He has.
Yes. And
was he batting leadoff? I know. I mean, obviously he batted leadoff last year. He's going to bat leadoff again this year for the Dodgers.
I don't have a problem with Fernando Tatis Jr. leading
Acuna
off.
won one batting leadoff.
Yeah, I just hope that he's able to have a chance to drive in runs too, because he's a really good hitter.
Here's that clip that Sammy posted. AJ Casavel asking Fernando about playing in the leadoff spot.
What do you like about the leadoff spot? I know you've hit there a lot before, but what do you like in particular about that spot?
You start the game. You start the game with a wild horse coming to the plate, so it's a beautiful thing.
Would you ever refer to yourself as a wild horse?
The different nature of this year's schedule, you guys head to Korea in less than 2 weeks. What does that mean for you offensively as far as where you want to be by the time you get out of here?
I feel I was getting ready in the off season for Korea, and obviously for the rest of the boys that didn't play winter ball, it's a little bit more. Getting rhythm a little bit quicker, but I still believe we have the athletes and the hitters to make it happen.
Yeah, I wouldn't call myself. I'm not.
Let you start the show every day because I feel like we get our wild horse right off the bat.
That's true.
Because I start a lot of the other segments, but for the start of the game, the start of the show, we have Woods talk first with the energy. that wild horsiness that you bring.
That's radio. If Woods pencils himself in the leadoff spot for Tier 1 Sunday baseball and goes, I just figured we'd start with a wild horse.
We have a problem. You will never
quite the same.
You will never see me above 7th, okay? 7th is the highest I will ever hit. And let's be honest, probably more like 8 or 9. I feel like they'll sleep on the old guy down there and give me a lot of fastballs. So I can still handle the fastball. But no, I would never refer to myself as a wild horse. I'm really not wild anymore, nor am I a horse in any sense of the word. I'm very tired and slow. I'm like a mule. I'm like a calm
Pack mule?
I'm a calm mule.
You're a
And I'm not
jackass.
calm, but yeah, I'm like a jackass, basically. That's pretty much how it works. Would you ever refer to yourself as a wild
Yeah,
horse?
absolutely. Especially when I'm in net for the Seals.
You were a wild horse that night, buddy.
I was more like a hippopotamus.
You look great. You really, really look great.
All right, let's take a time out. We will come back. Our Tier 1 tour continues. Not the sexiest team out there. I mean, we thought they'd be like on the same upward trajectory as the Padres. It hasn't panned out for either club. The Chicago White Sox next in our Tier 1 tour of baseball teams. We'll get to that after a check of traffic. More Ben and Woods on the way on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. You know what I love about the Tier 1 Tour? Because not every team is sexy or fun, but it's a good reminder of just where everybody stands. And I kind of forget. Like last year, the Chicago White Sox, who were in the focus today of our Tier 1 Tour, they were even worse than I remember.
Oh, yeah.
61 and 101. They were a 100-loss team last year. Did not finish last, thanks to the Kansas City Royals being in the same division, but that's a 377 winning percentage. And while you feel like there's no way they could be that bad again this year, they haven't really added anyone that makes you think that they're going to get a lot better, Woods. I mean, they have the same top of the order generally that they had before. They did add
Benintendi.
That's probably their biggest. That's probably their biggest free agent addition of the offseason.
Don't forget Paul DeJong.
And then the bottom of the order is kind of
Martin Maldonado
reshuffled. At the bottom of the order, they have guys who were very heralded when they were coming up. Yohan Moncada, Luis Robert Jr., Eloy Jimenez. I mean, 3 supposed studs who have not been bad.
No, not at all.
But not enough to carry them to where they thought they were going to go.
It's a bit of a weird organization. You've had Dylan Cease at the top of your rotation for
years. Trade rumors going to surround him.
And you're looking at projections for their starting 5, Ben. The low man is Dylan Cease with a 4 ERA. The rest are in the 5s, maybe even creeping up towards the 6s. So they added John Brebbia in their bullpen from the Yankees. They added Davy Garcia from the Yankees as well. They've got some interesting names. I don't expect much from these guys at all. I think they will do better than the 61 that they got last year, but I don't think it'll be much better. Let me check.
Maybe. I mean, the Kansas City Royals.
They've
actually made
their team.
some good moves that make you think that they could at least start flirting more toward 500 this year. I know that would be a huge jump from last year, but last place is a real possibility for the Chicago White Sox this season, especially if things start poorly and they trade Cease at some point. You can see things really starting to spiral out of control for this team.
Got them at 63.5 is the over-under for the Chicago White Sox this year. They're in the process of looking to move. They want a new ballpark.
This is not the way to go about it.
It's not. You need to get some fan support first. And I know many White Sox fans. Our pal Herb is one of my favorites. Herb Lawrence. He's great. Great follow on Twitter. That dude. He hammers that team.
He was a board op at the old station
at Mighty
long
1090.
ago.
Yeah, and he is a Chicago guy through and through, and he hammers Jerry Reinsdorf, the likes of which it is just like I can't even. It's so good. They're sick of it, man. They're just sick of it there.
They do have one old friend on the roster in Tim Hill. So
Timmy Hill.
Timmy Hill did sign a free agent deal back in
Chicago.
December. So I wish nothing but the best for Tim Hill. But, middle of a mediocre bullpen there. Maybe he can shine and have a breakout season. Maybe and end up in the closer role at some point if things don't go well for the White Sox. So hopefully Timmy Hill can have a good season.
I
but
miss that guy.
Things don't look particularly good on the South side.
You'll miss him until he just was pretty ineffective last year, which was a bummer, man. He was a good dude.
I mean, he's a good egg.
Good egg, yeah, good in the clubhouse. Yeah, Satan's Blowfish said you guys could have just cued the Chicago White Sox fan going on a rant on the radio and called it. Remember the best sports radio call of all time? He was so good.
I'm trying to think of all the community events that Tim Hill will be doing this year
on the
Chicago.
On the south side, man.
Yeah, going to be cutting ribbons and doing everything that the White Sox need him to do this year.
Yeah. Now, they added Benintendi last year. But didn't they extend him? I think they extended him.
Oh, that's right. That was even before last year, wasn't it? Yeah.
They extended him, I believe, this year. So they've got him for a couple more years. And I just don't see.
He's projected for like a 740 OPS. I mean, nothing. That's not all-star numbers right there.
5-year, $75 million extension.
They've been a very responsible financial organization, considering they play in a giant media market, have a very wealthy owner who also owns a basketball team in town that has done quite well. If I was a White Sox fan like Herb, That would be a really frustrating team.
They are
to root for.
As frustrating as this team can be.
Yeah.
That one is equally frustrating, I would say.
All right, continuing our Tier 1 tour, we will continue to creep our way west until we wrap things up. Next, 2 weeks left, and we should be through every team in baseball. It's moving along very quickly. All right, we'll take a time out. We'll come back since Sammy is going to wait on Mike Schilt. Let's move the Reindl Report up, get some headlines, had a milestone for LeBron over the weekend, and more. We can talk all about it when we return with Ben and Woods on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. All right, this is timely. The Odyssey app lets you jump back to the moments you missed on 97.3 The Fan. So while you're listening, you can see what you missed right there on the app. Then click to listen on demand. Go back to listen to a guest or a feature or something we were talking about earlier on the free Odyssey app.
Or listen to a host that has a theory
Mm-hmm.
that gets completely shot down
Exactly.
7 minutes later.
So if you wanted to go back and rewind to our last segment when we were discussing how Mike Schilt seems pretty comfortable putting Fernando Tatis in the leadoff spot, and
Mr. Consistency, Mike
looks
Schilt.
like
horse.
Looks
Wild
like they're
horse.
just going to roll with that to let everyone know exactly where everyone's going to be hitting during the regular season.
Was he listening on the Odyssey
I
app
swear
in
to
his
God.
office? And
He's
he goes,
doing a prank.
I got an idea.
So in the last
watch
5
this.
minutes,
I'm going to get him.
Mike Schilt puts out the lineup for today's game in Peoria against the Chicago Cubs. And wouldn't you know, leading off is not Fernando Tatis Jr. He's batting second today, and it'll be Ha-Seong Kim in the leadoff spot, which I saw some people in our chat going they would rather see Ha-Seong Kim leading off. So you'll get that opportunity today. Kim, Tatis, then Bogarts will be hitting third. Manny Machado DHing again and cleaning up. Jurickson Profar will bat fifth in left field. Jake Cronenworth then bats sixth at first base. Eggy Rosario will play third and bat seventh. Jackson Merrill back in center field, hitting eighth this time. And Kyle Higashioka behind the plate, batting ninth with Johnny Brito on the mound for your San Diego Padres. I believe Matt Waldron also supposed to pitch today against the Cubs. Those two guys definitely very much in the mix to try to join the starting rotation, and both having good springs. A lot of people talking about Johnny Brito's command and how impressive it is for a young pitcher. And, of course, we talked about Waldron last week and the knuckleball and how effective he's been so far this spring.
I like to picture Mike Schilt in his office going, man, that Woods is a keen baseball mind. If I got him in the leadoff with our weak bottom half, what if I get him in the two? Kimmy's on base, 2-run bomb.
Now he puts Merrill down a little bit lower,
Yeah, so
and you got
he's
Higashioka, and now you've got some Kim. Now you've got some guys who get on base for Tatis batting second.
Look at that, man.
Totally different look lineup today.
Look at that.
For your San Diego Padres.
Yeah, I like it.
And that's going to be a video webcast today with Jesse Agler and Tony Gwynn Jr. at 12:10 from the Peoria Sports Complex.
Video webcast that can be seen on
Padres.com.
.tv or something.
I think this one's a Padres.com.
Okay.
It's not Don and
I'm
Don and
still
Mud
so
do
confused.
Padres.tv.
Even I'm confused.
Yeah.
And then some people said that yesterday's game was on Spectrum cable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I will say, when I did and this is public knowledge, when I did the Barrio Luncheon and they were talking about this season, there was kind of a slide presentation that Sergio Del Prado was doing, and it said, and games will be available on Spectrum and DirecTV and Fubo TV. And I go, that hasn't been announced yet, but okay, if you're telling us they're all going to be there, then I'll trust that they are going to be there at some point. We just haven't ironed out all the details yet.
It was not on Cox, which I have Cox at my home, and so I just watched it on my phone.
I had Spectrum, but I never even bothered looking to see if it was there. I was just watching on Padres.tv on my phone on Sunday, yesterday. And then I found out later, hey, someone said the game was on Channel 305, which is where it was last year because I have Spectrum, and it was on Channel 305 last season. But I didn't look yesterday to see if it was there or not. I figured there'd be an announcement at some point if there was going to be games on television. But maybe not. Maybe they'll just surprise us like, ooh, look, there's a game on TV.
305 if you have Spectrum. You have Spectrum? That's what
I
you
have Spectrum.
Okay.
It's funny because we live in the same general vicinity, but you have Cox.
Yeah, I don't have the wherewithal to do the bit of calling Cox to cancel and then trying to get a better deal. And then maybe if they don't give me a better deal, I've told you before, I've called many times and threatened, and they go, all right, go ahead. No, I will leave today. I will cancel. All right.
They have a note next to your name, and it goes, he's not going to cut the cord.
He's not going to cut the cord.
He doesn't have the stomach for it.
He doesn't.
So
yeah.
we've got him.
We got him.
We got him. He
And
can't.
so-
That's an idle threat. Woods is never cutting the cord.
No, I try, and they say, no. And then you have to take the boxes back and redo your internet and get Spectrum in there. It's a whole process. I'll pay somebody. Paulie, if you want to do it, I'll give you $100. Come on and do the whole thing. I don't want to do anything.
Paulie deserved $100 for anything. It was getting me dressed in goalie gear at the Seals game.
That's incredible work. Incredible work by both of you.
I was getting up in there.
It's like my personal valet.
Yeah. Yeah, you got up in there to help him get all his
You
gear
got to
on.
feel those calves when I was strapping the shin guards on.
I really thought
you
you
should
would,
pay me for that honor.
I really thought you would wear pants. You wore shorts.
I thought the guys wore shorts on the field.
I think they wear tights.
Is that what it is? Under the shorts? Because
Yeah.
I thought they had shorts on. I was looking at their
There's
uniforms.
no exposed skin.
There is no skin.
You had some
Well, I like
exposed.
to show a little skin.
I know you do. Yeah. I know you like to show those calves off every chance, which I get it.
Speaking of my valet, Paulie's got the Reindl Report right after this check of traffic on 97.3 The Fan.
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
We are still dealing with a number of problems. Two-vehicle accident on westbound 54. This is just past Briarwood Road. It's in the center divide. Also, northbound side of the 5, just before the 54. We have reports of a hit-and-run crash, not showing if lanes are blocked. You have bigger problems up ahead, though, north 5 at Hawthorne. We still have that overturned trash truck. Problem here is that not only is it blocking the left lanes, but there is a fuel spill across lanes as well. So they're saying only that right lane is open. That's northbound 5 at Hawthorne. On the southbound 15 Friars Road off-ramp, there is a collision involving several vehicles. Also traveling on eastbound 78, accident cleared near Mar Vista. We had this other crash up ahead past Woodland Parkway. It's blocking the 2 right lanes. Then up ahead, another accident just before Nordall Road. That's in the center divide. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben & Wood, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
And get things started here with our today's edition of the Reindl Report.
Now tuned into the motherfucking greatest.
Welcome to the Reindl Report with Paul Reindl.
Hi, Paul.
All right.
2 stories from the world of sports that we haven't gotten to yet.
We'll start off in Major League Baseball.
And 1 story that you didn't know you needed.
Are you laughing, biatch?
It's the Reindl Report
Hey, Paul, how you doing? Okay, how are you?
on 97.3 The Fan.
Are you ready to bless the mood? I need some help, please.
That was good.
Can I get a yeah? Oh, yeah.
All right.
All right.
All right.
All right, Ben, because you did such a good job on Saturday night in between the pipes at the halftime for the Seals game, I thought we'd throw basketball Ben a bone. History was made over the weekend. LeBron James reached 40,000 career points on Saturday night at home, Crypto.com Arena. That has never been done before. And I don't know that it'll get surpassed.
It's going to be very tough. I thought the amazing statistic that I saw that went with the 40,000 points, it took him the exact same number of games to get from 0 to 10,000 as it did for him to get from 30,000 to 40,000. So his consistency when he was young and in his athletic prime, he is performing and producing just as much as he is now in his late 30s. That is 20 years of consistency. And by the way, the 10,000 to 20,000 and 20,000 to 30,000 were within a few games of each other as well. He has simply been the absolute best, elitist, most elite player his entire 20 years that he's been in the NBA.
I did have to laugh, though, when they talked to him last week when they asked him if he's going to do a retirement tour. And he said, I'm 50-50. I think we all know that there will be a retirement tour for LeBron.
There was
Adam
also...
Silver's like, you're doing a retirement
You don't really
tour.
have a choice, number one. And number two, we all know that you would do that.
There was also some news on Bronny over the weekend with his agent, who's Rich Paul. Talking about that they really are looking more at the opportunity. It doesn't matter where he's drafted. He just wants to go to the right place. And Rich Paul said, well, they asked him, well, isn't the right place where LeBron is playing? And they said, well, LeBron would be absolutely delighted, but that's not the be-all, end-all of what we're looking for Bronny, is just to play with Dad in the NBA.
Is he an NBA player?
It's more the end-all, be-all for LeBron.
For LeBron.
Like, he's going to want to go wherever Bronny goes.
He ends up in Portland or something for his
Then
last
LeBron
year.
signs with Portland for a year.
So I think all things
really
being
improves
equal, had
Bronny
Bronny not had the heart attack and had a full season, it might look a little bit different. But they're also saying that going into the draft this year, like the 2025 draft looks really strong, so it might be better to come out this year because of all the competition in 2025. A lot of factors go into it, especially when your dad is LeBron James. Of
course.
All right, next story. This is a Ben recommendation, I believe.
2 bones for Ben.
Ben report.
All the bones being
The
thrown
Higgins report.
Ben's way.
Had a couple other stories, but Ben has been really wanting to get to San Diego State football's schedule was released, apparently, over the weekend.
No, I think it was like Thursday or Friday. We didn't talk about it last week.
Said, "Oh yeah, we didn't get to this," and yeah.
Does he not remember?
Well, it's just unusual.
What's that?
Tell us all about it.
What's unusual?
Well, let's see. They'll lead off the season on August 31st against Texas A&M Commerce.
Now remember, they don't.
How many times did you go to Texas A&M Commerce?
I did not
at
go
all?
to Texas A&M Commerce.
Wasn't sure if that was one of the schools you attended. But what's interesting is that they don't play their big rival. Like, how do you?
Who's their big rival?
Fresno State, the old oil can. Remember, they won the old oil can last season to get it back for the first time in a few years.
Remember Woods?
I do.
Now they get to keep the old oil can because they don't play Fresno State on the schedule. They have both Oregon State and Washington State on their schedule. The Pac-2 that's left over because of the scheduling agreement with the Mountain West. So they play both of those schools. Oregon State in Week 2 on September 7th. Washington State on October 26th. And they also play at Cal, which is now, where are they going to be? The ACC next year? So they got a road game against an ACC school, but it's in the state of California, up in Berkeley, which is very unusual. So just some odd scheduling. They also go to Central Michigan, the Chippewas.
They don't like you, remember.
They haven't specifically said that.
They literally wrote an email.
I usually think it's more you they don't like.
I mean, I didn't do anything.
I didn't do anything either.
I did nothing. What did I do?
I didn't do anything.
What did I do?
I didn't do anything.
Well, that was riveting.
Really
riveting.
Was.
But I would like to.
What a schedule.
Instead, we'll talk about feet.
Feet.
I'm in.
Like feats of strength?
No.
Feats of athleticism?
Like your feet.
F-E-E-T, not
Feet.
F-E-A-T.
Ah.
So there is a high school in Oklahoma, Edmond, Oklahoma, that...
You just mentioned Edmond.
That's where Austin Eckroat, today's winner on the PGA Tour, is from Edmond, Oklahoma. Good paying attention.
I wonder how he feels about what happened at this local high school.
Yeah, so the Deer Creek School District had to release a statement on Friday afternoon because a video had gone viral that showed students at an assembly licking other students' toes and feet.
Sucking on them.
Sucking on them.
Sucking on their toes and feet.
And it's a bizarre thing to see students doing that.
It is weird
at school.
to see that at school.
This was a fundraiser assembly.
How about a dunk tank? Do you want better? How about just
Throw
your
a
old
pie.
How about a pie to the face?
A pie throwing contest.
No, that's too obvious.
So, and it's a little weird because I think the fundraising, like their hearts were in the right place.
Anytime you fundraise, that is good. That's a good thing.
They spent the whole week, the school did, raising money for, it's called Not Your Average Joe Coffee, which they employ people with intellectual, developmental, and physical disabilities. And they raised over $150,000 throughout the week.
Insane.
But one of the fundraisers involved a assembly, and kids, it was kids, there were no like adults involved.
Are we sure there were no adults involved? Because
that's what I'm reading off of the news report here.
Okay.
There were no adults involved, which I guess makes it a little bit better. I mean, a lot a bit better.
It would have been weird if it was like, hey, let's get these students to lick
the
our
principal's
feet
toes
and the teacher's feet.
Here's guest instructor Rex Ryan.
And so they did a game. The kids,
Oklahoma.
The kids volunteered ahead of time. I don't know that they knew what they were doing, but they volunteered to participate in a game. And so kids would sit in a chair and they would have peanut butter all over their feet. And then another kid would have to lick the peanut butter off. And I think it was first one to get all the peanut butter off wins. And
now
don't even suggest it.
Now listen, I was just gonna say.
Don't even go there.
Let me finish.
No.
Let me finish.
No.
Should I turn his mic off?
Neither way. I don't even care what you're thinking.
Please let me finish.
Please
let me finish.
I just got in goal. I don't want to know it.
His mic's muted. You can go ahead.
What if we, for charity, did the exact same thing? I have a question for you. Which role would you rather have? The sucker or the sucky?
Obviously, you'd rather be the person who is
receiving.
Correct.
Now, you can close your eyes
Now,
and
there's
imagine.
no doubt in my mind that you take better care of your toes than I do.
There's
you've
no
had,
doubt.
You've had like a pedicure. I've never
Yes,
had one.
I trim my nails.
My toes are gross. I wouldn't want
Your
to suck
feet
on my
are
own toes.
hideous.
Can you suck on your own toes?
I don't think so.
I don't think I can get.
No, I can't even get close. Your
I
feet
can't-
are
I can't
disgusting.
even-
Let
yeah.
me see them again.
I mean, they're not. They're definitely not good.
God. Dang.
Yeah, you would not want to suck on my toesies here. They're just not. They're not that appealing.
Feet are huge.
I've got big size 13.
You should be charging
giant
for this
feet,
content.
which are constantly in
They
flip flops.
look better than they have before.
Well, that's good.
There's
Thank you.
usually some hammer time on them, and there's none. There's no real hammer
The
time.
blood blister's gone away, which that would be unappealing.
Absolutely
for sure.
hideous.
So, but, you know, I keep them out to the elements most of the time, and occasionally you get the hangnail.
He put
and
his
the-
feet right in the camera,
He
by
did.
the way, just right in there.
He did.
No, this did happen, Paulie, at the school, correct?
Yes.
In like the gymnasium.
All school assembly. This happened on the basketball
Well, first
court.
of all, I mean, what about peanut allergies? No one's
Well, you
worried
don't
about
sign
those?
up. You don't sign up if you have peanut allergies. Obviously, you're thinking about the wrong thing here. Okay,
One
there's
of the-
kids sucking each other's feet, and you're like, "What if they're allergic?"
An anonymous student told the local news station, it was surprising. I didn't think they were going to do all that. I was just shocked. I didn't really have a feeling. I was kind of disgusted and then glad that I wasn't down there.
Next year, glory hole for fundraising.
An anonymous parent said, whenever my daughter told me yesterday that this was happening, I had to ask her, wait, what?
Excuse me
They're
again?
licking peanut butter off of toes?
The bit of like doing something gross for charity, fine, okay, there's no problem. But now you're really crossing a very odd line, in my opinion, for high school students. Now I'll raise my hand. I'm a foot guy. I like feet. I like feet. I do.
You like feet?
I like feet.
I like feet.
I'm not a big foot guy. I like feet.
But I like 'em.
I like them too.
I mean, I'll give a foot massage, but I don't know that I'll go
I'm the foot
beyond that.
effing master.
necessarily.
I'm giving a million ladies a million foot massages. They all meant something, okay? We always go back to Pulp Fiction.
There's
and
a lot of
there's
Pulp
always,
Fiction
My
references.
husband throwing a man out of a 12-story window for touching my feet. That made sense to you?
I like feet. I would say it's a.
What was his name?
A
It was,
mini.
Tony.
I don't remember. I have a mini foot fetish. Mini, not little feet. You know what I'm saying? It's a small area.
It's not a lifelong obsession.
No. But I'll look and be like, oh, nice feet. I'm into it. Said too much. You can't do that at school, right? Again,
No.
try dunk tank.
Peanut butter's not really a sexy food, though.
No, not at all.
Not at all.
Not at all.
Neither is honey.
No.
I mean, honey is
Sticky.
I mean, what's the go-to? Whipped cream is the go-to.
So you wouldn't do this as a bit.
To lick
one
your
of
toes?
us, yeah.
No, I would not. I'd
But we
rather
could
go
raise a
back
lot of money.
back in goal again for the Seals.
We could raise a ton of money.
I don't know that we could raise a lot of money for that.
Be good content.
How much would it cost for you personally?
I mean,
All right,
hey,
here's a
Hey,
question.
if we raise $1,000, we won't do it, and you won't have to see
That's a
it.
good bit.
Maybe that's how you raise
Out
the
of
money.
everyone on the
It's a threat.
Out of everyone on the fans staff, whose feet would you avoid the most? That's a good question.
Ben.
I think mine. It's probably number
Who's-
one.
I mean-
Hello, maybe. I don't know.
Maybe Elo. Maybe Elston. I don't know. I don't know how these guys care for their feet.
I'm
Are
not,
you being
I'm not
sexist
touching,
by no one saying Annie?
Well, no, because Annie probably has nice feet.
Well, you're just assuming.
Yeah.
I'm not touching Adam's feet. I don't want him to have that
bet,
over me.
I bet they're very meticulously done. I bet he has nice little. What is it? What size shoe does he wear? 6, 7?
Tony probably has athletic feet.
Oh yeah.
And
Yeah.
a good or a bad thing, though.
I bet Tony takes care of his feet.
I bet he does.
I walk a lot, golf course. I
Yeah.
have calloused feet.
You gotta go get a pedicure, man.
Yeah, you'd really enjoy it. It's ticklish. They do tickle you, but they rub the
Feels
back of your
so
calves
good.
too. It's nice.
They
We'll
do.
go after the show one day. We'll get some video content.
More video content.
More video content, and we'll
Let's
do
start there. And
We'll
then
do a
we
beauty
can-
day. We'll do a beauty day.
Benowitz Spa Day.
Sign me up. If any sponsors out there would like to have us, we would be definitely interested in some plugola.
All right, assuming Mike Schilt is on time, he should be speaking to the media right now at the Peoria Sports Complex, which means shortly Sammy Levitt will join us with an update on what's going on at Padres spring training. We'll do that in our final hour of Ben and Woods. Do not go anywhere. Going until 10 o'clock, and Annie and Elston and all of our feet here on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
Now, Paulie's wife's in the chat and said that Paulie doesn't want her to sell feet pictures.
I don't remember this conversation going this way.
Because it's weird that there is a market for it. I
There's
think
a big market.
If my wife wanted to do it, I would support her in her ways.
Oh, yeah, I'd have no problem with that.
Yeah, just a little extra cash, side hustle. There's a market for it.
There's a
But that would be the
threshold,
only,
though.
There is a threshold
where
in my
I would
opinion.
not really be down with that.
I don't
And
think
I
I
think
would.
feet are okay.
I don't think that, my wife selling topless pics would make me very happy at all. I don't. But I think feet, I'd be like, oh, cool. What are you working on over there? What are you here? Get a pillow under there. Yeah, I think I'd be into it.
Probably need Paulie's help to get good shots. Paulie's a good photographer.
He's a really good photographer. So's Hannah, though. Hannah's a really good photographer. I think she should
get some lighting, good
I think
soft
she
lighting.
could put something tasteful together. You know, make an extra few $100s a month.
Should we try to take pictures of our feet?
I would actually. Is there a market
Didn't
for
we do that
men's
once
feet?
where we kind of we did our 3 feet?
Oh, we
and
did.
People
We
had to
put
guess.
they had to guess which
whose
was
foot
whose.
was attached to whose.
Yours looked
person.
especially hideous that day. Especially, they look better. They do look better. I think you've been secretly maintaining them a little bit better. No.
I don't think so, but there were a couple of problems that I've overcome. I didn't really do anything, just through the natural progression of bad things that have fallen off at some point. I had like a dead toenail that eventually fell off. I mean, what else? What are you going to do? A pedicure's not going to solve that. I'd stubbed it, and it almost like ripped off entirely, and then it was like dead.
Tell me more about your dead toenail.
And it really hurt badly.
Padres have just sent a notification. They have reassigned the following players to minor league camp, Ben.
More
Matt
players.
Festa, who we saw yesterday, looked pretty good. Ryan Carpenter and Bryce Johnson. With today's moves, they are now at 47 players remaining in major league camp.
It's still 21 more.
Whew.
Although they're taking 31 to Korea.
They
with
are,
them.
and then they'll they'll reassign 5 after the Korea trip.
But
why the... I wonder why the 5 extra players.
Well, my guess would be that if anything happened after the first game, you couldn't just say, "Oh, well, we need to call someone up." Yeah, we need to get to Korea from Arizona in about 6 hours. Is not going to happen. So
Robin tweets the show and says baseball season cannot start soon enough. Just because it's baseball season does not mean we won't be talking about feet and whatnot.
I mean, feet season is pretty much
365, 7 days a week, my friend.
Just catching up on the chat. It's getting weird.
Is it getting weird in there?
A little bit. Thank you, Guz, for the $2 super donation, saying buy my feet pics.
A little taste of what
I probably won't buy any.
Could be awaiting us.
97.3 the feet.
Let's go out right now, and Paulie, if you can answer the phone, thank you. Calling in from Peoria, Arizona, where he joins us every day, presented by your San Diego County Toyota Dealers Association, is Sammy. Spring training, Sam Levitt. Back with us here after another weekend in Arizona. Sammy,
you're not missing anything, Sammy.
How are you surviving? It's mostly feet talk right now.
About 15 minutes of feet talk.
See, I called in a little bit late, and the show totally goes off the rails, huh?
No, we like it. That's how we like it. That's how we do it. Ben actually showed his nude foot to our entire watch
for free.
For free.
Why would he do that?
On the house.
I was told that it's a big money maker in certain circles.
Could be.
Waiting for the cash to start pouring in. It hasn't happened yet.
Might get some YouTube subscriptions if you show more feet.
Sammy, have you ever had a pedicure?
No, great question. I have never. I've thought about it. I've been asked to go, but I don't know. I really don't like other people touching my nails and my feet and you know what it is? It's like the scrubbing of the feet. Like I don't like that.
Tickles,
I feel
man.
like that would weird me out.
It
I've never done it.
What about the one? Have you seen the one where they have the little fish that eat off the skin on your feet?
Yes.
So you put it in a little bowl of fish.
I put my hands in it before. It's amazing. It feels amazing and weird and awesome.
Well,
I think that would
may
creep me
be.
out.
Yeah, that may be the next step in my my skincare journey. We talked about that last year.
We
my
did.
Moisturizer. I know Woodsy, your wife. She was very interested in my skincare journey. So
Very
that
much
could be
so.
The next step.
Very much so. So you talked to the skipper this morning, Mike Schill. What did he have to say today?
Yeah, a couple of notes for you. Michael King and Joe Musgrove are lined up to pitch on Thursday, but the problem is the Padres have an off day on Thursday. So they will pitch in a B game against the Rangers on Thursday, both of them, back-to-back. So even though it's an off day, it will not be an off day for Joe and Michael King, and I likely will come back here and check that out, the B game for both those guys on Thursday. So that was notable. As far as Yuki Matsui, he's progressing well. Matsui was doing some long tossing yesterday, and it does look like he's continued to build up a little bit each day. But he continues to progress. All the news continues to be good on him. As far as the lineup today, you might notice Ha-Sung Kim in the leadoff spot,
Indeed.
which is obviously different from the days prior where Fernando has been in that leadoff spot. And Mike Schultz said it's really about two things. Number one, getting a different look of a lineup and just, putting it out there and getting a different looking lineup, but also getting some more at-bats for guys at the top of the lineup. So it might be just an effort to get Kim an extra at-bat as the game gets later, but it is also about getting a bit of a different look at a lineup. And obviously Kim hit there plenty last year. I'm trying to jog my memory. He just spoke about 5-7 minutes ago, so I'm trying to think in my head. Was there anything else
let me ask
super
you,
notable? I don't think so.
And maybe it was discussed this weekend, but the reassigning
Yes.
of a few of the players to minor league camp, including, I think we were both surprised, Jairo Iriarte and Robbie Snelling, who have both thrown really, really well this spring, and we thought, we were told they're in the mix competing for a job, but maybe not as much in the mix as we thought after they were reassigned. Did Mike Schultz say anything about those moves?
Yeah, good call, Ben. That was something he was asked about, the moves from late yesterday. And the most important note he made about that was that the schedule, the odd nature of the schedule, the fact that they leave for Korea in under 2 weeks, that did play a role in some guys that maybe wouldn't get reassigned at this point of spring training getting reassigned yesterday. So it did speed up the process for the Padres in reassigning some of those guys. So if there were people out there, you included, Ben, that were maybe a little surprised that some of those names were already taken out of the Major League clubhouse, I think that's fair because the schedule certainly played a part in it and sped things up a little bit quicker than normal because of the schedule, which I think makes a lot of sense, right? I mean, they have to get down to business as far as who's going to be on this team and pairing the Major League spring training roster down right now. So, yes, he did acknowledge that they sped things up a little bit because of the schedule this year.
Interesting stuff from Sammy Levitt out at spring training. It's nice to see Manny back in the lineup 2 days in a row. How any updates on how he's feeling? I just get the sense right now, Sammy, that we're probably targeted for a Manny Machado DH role early in the season as his elbow continues to heal, which, by the way, kind of knocks off one of those needs potentially for the Padres. If that's what they're going to do, Manny as a DH, you could certainly do a lot worse than that.
Yeah, look, I think it certainly seems like we're on track for that DHing in Korea.
Is he have you seen him on backfields taking grounders or throwing? Because I haven't since like the first week. And
I think he's done it consistently.
Has he? Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's stopped taking the grounders on the backfield.
Because we watched him hit.
Yeah, he certainly was doing it consistently. I haven't necessarily seen him out there taking BP as much. I think it's been a little bit more cage work just from what I've seen, kind of him moving around the complex. But look, the other day after he didn't play 2 days in a row, I did ask Mike Schultz about it, and I think I told you guys about it at the time that Mike said it was just an extra day of rest, part of the progression. Look, when Joe Musgrove threw the B game the other day, I wanted to see Joe, but I also wanted to see if Manny was out there taking at-bats, and he was, which I was like, okay, it's probably, really nothing with Manny. And then he was in the lineup the next day, and he's in there today, right? So I think all good on his front. I couldn't tell you. I haven't been out there as much the last couple of days during defensive drills to, quite honestly, with my own two eyes, tell you whether he's been out there taking ground balls or not. He certainly was as far as a handful of days ago. But look, as far as the hitting part of it, back in the lineup today, and everything's tracking, for him to be in the lineup in Korea, I would imagine. So I'm going to keep more of an eye on that today, see if he's out there. But as far as the hitting part of it, everything looks on track.
Padres pre- and post-game show host Sam Levitt with us from Padres spring training in Peoria. And we know results don't matter, but yesterday seemed like a a fun day to be at the Peoria Sports Complex. Just kind of one of maybe the best days so far if you were a fan and got to see that game against the Mariners, Sammy.
Yeah, and it's good to see, right? I mean, obviously the results don't matter, but if you're Fernando Tatis Jr., I'm sure, and he said it after the game, felt good to hit a home run, to finally get that first Cactus League hit. Ha-Seong Kim, who's hit the ball well with the home run. I mean, Luis Campusano, if I'm a betting man, he would be one of my breakout stars on this team, hitting a home run. So, yeah, good to see. I mean, we all understand the results don't actually matter, but you do want guys to get their timing down and to have a little taste of success. I thought the most interesting thing that came out of talking to Fernando yesterday was he was asked about hitting in the leadoff spot, and he said, you start the game and it's a wild horse right at the start of the game, and it's a beautiful thing. And it was one of those lines from Fernando where he talks about the game in a really kind of beautiful, eloquent way. And we'll see. I think there's certainly a possibility, and it's interesting because of the lineup today, Kim being back in the leadoff spot, but certainly a possibility that is where Fernando is at the start of the year. But to your point, Ben, great to see what they did offensively. The pitching the day before was really, really good. Pitching was relatively good yesterday. So a good couple of days for the squad, no doubt.
Sammy, before you go, I forgot to mention this. Unbelievable job on Friday. So, Woods, did you see this? So, Matt Scraby called in sick at the last minute. Ello was off. Tony was doing the game. Sammy had to do a solo show for 4 hours on Friday from Peoria. And I caught some of it, and I thought, man, I am exhausted. And look at Sammy. He's been working so hard, and he sounded great. I heard you had Scanlon on. I was listening to some of that interview, but you absolutely killed it on short notice. I know how hard this show is to do with a whole day of planning with Woods and Paul at my side, and you just had, like, how many minutes did Adam give you before he said, 4-hour show, Sam, go?
I had a couple of hours. So, admittedly, the original plan was that I was going to join Scraby for maybe an hour and a half, 2 hours until Chris got on, and maybe Tony would hop on a little bit later after the game, but then Scraby wasn't feeling well. So then I would say it was about 2 hours or a little bit less. But keep in mind, I was at the complex, right? So I had to sort of reorganize and get back to my Airbnb because it's just easier to do the show from there. And I went about 3 hours almost solo, and then Tony hopped on for the final hour, 20 minutes or so. So I did get a little help at the end, but we figured it out. You make it happen. I'm
Settle
lucky
down,
spring
Rudy.
training where
He's Rudy, man. This is bad for the rest of us.
I figured it out. Well, look, I will say this. Adam, when he called me, and then he actually called me again a little bit later on, he did ask me multiple times, are you good? Are you okay kind of doing this solo? And I said, I'm good. I'll figure it out. I've got plenty to talk about. We can have a guest on. We can even play. We ended up playing a Kyle Higashioka 10-minute interview to kind of, take up one of the segments. So we figured it out. If it were January 10th, and there was absolutely nothing going on that short notice, it might have been tough. I'm not going to lie, it might have been tough. But this time of year, it was fine. It really flew by. So may have put myself in a predicament because I've shown I can do it on last minute notice. So I can only imagine the request now. You're right.
Just making us all look bad.
Making us look bad. He's Rudy. He's going way too hard at practice.
This would be like Blake Snell signing a $3 million deal.
Yeah.
Like, do we have a radio host players association that can
unbelievable
file agreements?
We need a union.
Yeah, it's a good observation about Adam as well, because he's never shy about asking you to do more things. But then when you do them, he all of a sudden goes, "Are you okay? Are you all right? Are you doing too much? I'm putting too much on your plate." He ask you, and then you say yes, and he goes, "I don't know, maybe I've asked him to do too much now."
But if you say yes and do it, he does thank you profusely. But it doesn't stop him from then asking you for double what he asked you for the first time. So it's a double-edged sword.
I will also say that Adam is very good about it, and this is a good example when I'm out at spring training for weeks on end. He is very good about asking me how I'm doing. Do I need anything? Just the person.
It's weird. He didn't ask us at all if we needed anything.
He's very good with that kind of stuff. So, yes, it came together last minute, but we figured out the show on Friday. All was well, and hopefully people enjoyed it. I thought a segment or two I was a little bit all over the place because, quite honestly, I was getting on the air for the opening segment. I thought in my head, what am I going to talk about right now? And I said, okay, let's talk about 3 storylines from spring training, 3 top storylines. I ended up just talking about the outfield for about 10 minutes. Never got to the others. And I said, sorry, last minute. We'll talk about something else when we get back. So
our audience is certainly never used to us being all over the place, Sammy. Great job, man. Appreciate you as usual, buddy. Take care of yourself. We'll talk to you tomorrow.
All right, guys. Talk to you tomorrow.
Thanks,
Sammy Levitt, Sammy Spring Training, joining us each and every day from Peoria, Arizona.
More like Scab Levitt at this point.
I mean, when Adam comes to you, it's
this guy.
You know how it is.
Oh, who are you talking to?
You either say yes or you hear about it.
Well, he calls me. He doesn't call you ever. I get all of his calls, all of them.
I get the rest.
And Paulie gets the rest. Ben just skates on by, just skates on through life, unbothered. Must be nice. Adam did want to send us with a tent. That's true. We didn't listen to him, and we will next year. We're taking a tent. I'm peeling behind my ears. That's how sunburned I am. My face feels like a saddlebag from sitting in that Arizona sun. I've been moisturizing like crazy. Anyway, great job, Sammy.
All right,
Sammy's
terrific
the best.
3 hours and 15 minutes. We got 45 left. Let's get some tier ones on here. We've thrown out a bunch of topics on the Padres, the battle for the 4th and 5th outfield spots that also happen to be the 2nd and 3rd outfield spots, the lineup.
I love that
Tatis
tweet.
Jr.
I thought about it all weekend. Like, we have a really, really good competition for the 4th and 5th outfielder spot, but the 2nd and 3rd aren't filled yet. It was something to that effect, and it was just brilliant.
Please join us, 833-288-0973. We want to talk Padres baseball with you on San Diego's #1 sports station, back after a check of traffic here on 97.3 The Fan. Phone lines are open, 833-2888-0973 if you want to join us.
Everybody's happy with the current state of the Padres, as it were. It's fine. We
It's
don't
fine.
take a lot of calls, so we don't get a lot of calls.
Coming up Wednesday night at Snapdragon Stadium, the U.S. women's national team will be playing the Gold Cup semifinals. They had to win yesterday against Colombia to advance, and they did, 3-0. Wave star Jaden Shaw had a goal. Alex Morgan had an assist, and they advanced to the semifinals. They'll play Canada on Wednesday at 4 o'clock in the first semifinal of the Gold Cup, and then it'll be Brazil against Mexico. Mexico beat the U.S. in pool play, but the U.S. finished second and still qualified. So they could have a rematch in the final. The final will also be at Snapdragon Stadium on Saturday or Sunday.
Final four teams.
This is the Final Four. They play at Snapdragon. It's one of the bigger events that Snapdragon has hosted now, and it's a couple of years of existence.
How have the crowds been?
So they had the pool play with the non-U.S. teams. I know, Craig, you could probably ask Craig Elston because I think he was doing the PA.
I think he did, yeah.
For those games, like Brazil was playing here, but it wasn't the U.S., so I don't know if it was full or it was just kind of, curious onlookers, but I'd imagine that Wednesday's semifinals and the final will all be jam-packed for the U.S. women's national team with Alex Morgan and Naomi Girma and all the stars that play for Team USA. I mean, women's soccer is immensely popular here in San Diego. You see the crowds the Wave get.
Massive.
You figure the women's national team is going to sell out that place pretty easily on Wednesday night for the Gold Cup semifinals.
I got some work to do as a burgeoning soccer fan. The MLS being
Yeah, got to get into it.
Got to get into it.
We're less than a year away. They've started their season, so at this time next year we'll be, a game or two into San Diego FC and their tenure in the MLS.
And it runs concurrent with baseball season?
Yeah, it's like March to November. It's a little longer than baseball season. Kind of goes most of the year.
A game a week?
Yeah, and then sometimes the midweek games. So they have the MLS schedule. The way kind of soccer works, same as in the Premier League, you've got your league games, and those are generally the weekend matchups. And then sometimes you have like cup games, so those like tournaments where you play, and they'll sometimes do those on like a Wednesday night. So sometimes you'll have 2 in a week. Sometimes you'll just have 1 in a week, depending on how the schedule goes. But that's generally how soccer schedule goes for professional teams, both internationally and here in the United States.
Do you figure you're going to watch a lot of the games, the MLS?
Yeah, I feel like maybe I won't see every single one of them, but if San Diego FC is playing, I'm going to be cheering hard. I'd like to see a championship team. I mean, that's our top level of soccer here.
Now,
So
I can kind of relate to what's happening here versus what happened in Seattle where I grew up. Lost a franchise. In 2008, the Sonics were sold and they moved to
Oklahoma City.
Wasn't that long ago. We had a franchise here. They now play in Los Angeles.
Correct.
A few years later, after the Sonics left, the Seattle Sounders were born.
Yep.
And
they're MLS?
They are MLS. They started
they
right
get
away in the MLS.
unbelievable crowds up there.
Huge crowds. I know so many people that weren't even sports fans that were like season ticket holders, scarves, the kits, the march to the stadium, everything. And I wonder if that's going to be something that we see here next year.
And do you guys think it's going to be dependent on how the team does? I mean, how did
Bro,
they...
like our boy Softy up there, he is a lunatic for the Sounders.
Well, I mean, if you had told me...
Never talked soccer before that.
If you had told me 7 years ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, Woodsy, you will be a massive NLL box lacrosse fan, I would say, what? I didn't even know there was a league. I had no idea until they asked me to try out to do the PA. Well, now you go to all these games, of course you fall in love with it. I think for me, it's going to be a matter of getting there, making sure I focus on watching it. It's never been my favorite sport to watch on television. I like the World Cup. The World Cup's amazing, right? It's the best of the best. It's so cool. But other than that, but now that it's a local team, I think I could get behind it. And it's going to be dependent on what the two little ones at home. If they're into it, I'm in. Like if I can get them to watch and buy in, then I think we'll be in.
I think we got lucky with the Wave because they started right away. Playoff team, first couple of years, challenging for a championship. I don't know how it works in necessarily expansion in terms. They haven't had their expansion draft or anything.
Yeah.
And, will they be a competitive team or will they be at the bottom for a few years? In the old days, like when a baseball expansion team came out, when the Padres were born in 1969, took them 15 years to make the playoffs for the first time.
There is something daunting about starting, and at 48 years old, there's something daunting about, like, when they do the expansion. You just said, "Oh, I want to see who they get in the expansion draft." Like, what you're like. Oh, we got him, killer. Like, I don't know.
I mean, if you were already a huge baseball fan, and then your town got a team, and you were following it, I could see the expansion draft would be really interesting. You'd be pouring over every team and the protected players.
Team.
I'm not at that level at soccer where I can look at, the
so and so's unprotected.
Yeah, the Kansas City team didn't protect that guy. That would be an interesting pick for San Diego FC to take. I'm not at that level of soccer knowledge of the MLS. So you're going to have to do some research and kind of get into it. Well, we got a year.
Well, the other thing is we have a million tier ones that are so into it that, like, we'll just put them on. You guys tell us. You know what I mean? Like, you guys can tell us.
But I'm going to be into it for sure.
For sure. I'm going to watch.
I've got my SD.
I got my
FC
sweatshirt.
hat.
I got my sweatshirt that Hannah shrunk, and now I've lost it. It's hers now. So that's hers.
Oh, maybe it was a strategic shrinkage.
She just bought one. Just buy one of her sizes. It really looks good on you. I'm going to shrink it, and now I'll wear it. It is skin tight on me now. I know I put on a couple pounds, but it's like it fit really well over Christmas. I wore it one time, and now it's hers.
How's she doing, by the way?
My wife?
Yeah.
She's great. Why do you ask?
Well, I saw, remember last week she started the program.
Oh, SD Fat Loss.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she did her...
Did she say anything about me?
She did her loading this weekend.
The first 2 days are loading. You actually eat more than you're used to.
Yeah, so she's doing good. She spent the majority of the morning meal prepping and got her berries and all of her things and her weighing out her food and everything else. So... you know what's going to happen.
My advice, and I think I was fortunate because I did it over the summer when berries were at their best. Don't skimp on the quality of the berries.
Bad berries are no good.
You want those to feel like a treat and not a chore. And I tried frozen, and I'm going, that's not that good. You got to find the best quality berries. Like go to Lazy Acres or somewhere that's going to be the organic, really the best berries you can find. And they'll probably get a little better as the spring goes along and you get into berry season. But
so you know what's going to happen? She's going to make me do it. Because when you're married to someone, you live with someone. And
unofficially, at least, you're on the program.
Yeah, unofficially, I think I'm going to be on the program. She's like, she's just going to make me do it. I put my foot in my mouth a little bit. I didn't mean to say this. Speaking of feet. The other morning, she was getting, she went and did it on her own and, like, paid and everything else and did her consultation. It was like 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm leaving for work. And I go, I'm glad you're doing this. And she has not let me forget it. I didn't mean it like that.
Ooh.
Like, it was more of I didn't mean it in that way. Hey, I'm glad you're doing this. You were right up at the precipice here. No, I never. She looks fantastic. Trust me. I try to get her every night. She has no interest.
I'm so glad you finally went to West Coast Men's Health.
Yeah, like if she said to me, I'm glad you're doing this. I'd be like, wait, what? What do you mean? I thought everything was fine. I just completely put my foot in my mouth on that. I'm happy for her that she's like found something that she likes to do. I'll just stop talking.
If you want to join us in our last segment, 833-288-0973. I think we get some mud audio. An interesting moment from the weekend that was in Peoria as well. Final segment of Ben and Woods on the way next on San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan. Doing a little behind-the-scenes discussion about one of our favorite March activities, the Tournament of Drops.
Man.
Should be returning soon.
Yes.
And we will have an announcement as to dates, and we'll release the field and the matchups coming up soon here. But we like to get that done sometime in March before baseball season starts.
Love the Tournament of Drops. One of my favorite bits that we do every single year, along with, the draft is coming up soon, right?
April, next month.
Ben Mock's The Draft is coming. You can go ahead and start working on your...
Last year, it fell a little flat compared to some of the other seasons, I think. I'll try to do better this year.
It's supposed to. That's even the bit.
Yeah, it's a fine line. I mean, I want to be able to amuse myself, really, is what we're going for.
Yeah, I mean, every year you do it. I love it. I think it's fantastic. Paulie with the audio of cutting Roger Goodell with the fourth pick in the draft. Yeah, it's so good. Well, I mean, you can start perusing some mock draft lists right now and start getting some ideas.
I will start looking at the mock drafts.
It helps.
Names.
With the 5th pick in the NFL draft,
makes me laugh every
Seattle
time.
Seahawks select.
Ben does his
some
joke.
horrible joke.
It's just the worst, and it's my favorite. It's one of my favorite things. I look forward to it every single year. And they're getting progressively worse, which is good. It's great.
Ben throws in his own trades.
The Indianapolis Colts have traded the 4th pick to the Dallas Cowboys. With the 4th pick in the NFL draft,
it's elite.
The Dallas Cowboys select.
Sometimes I have to make it work for the joke.
Yeah,
you have
you
the
have
right
to.
team and the right spot.
It is
and
absolutely elite.
It requires us to pull off a trade that Roger Goodell then needs to announce.
Jay Cutler is in our chat, and all he says in our chat, I don't think it's the Jay Cutler.
That would be interesting.
He just says Padres.
And Jay Cutler.
It's just and Jay Cutler. And he just writes in the chat, Padres.
Well, if you want to talk Padres, 833-288-0973. Let's go to, I see Raul's on the line. Let's go to Raul, and then we'll check traffic. Raul, what's up? Good morning to you from Ben and Woods here on 97.3 The Fan. Let's take a look at traffic right now on 97.3 The
what?
Fan. Let's take a look at the traffic. I tried to get
From the 97.3 The Fan Traffic Center, here's Kelly Danick.
Still a few problems wrapping up our morning drive on the Coronado Bridge heading off the island just before the 5. There is a collision blocking the left lane. They still have all but the slow lane blocked on northbound 5 at Hawthorne. This is all due to cleanup from that earlier overturn crash involving a trash truck. So we're still seeing a lot of slowing toward that. Accident on the westbound King Freeway just past Home Avenue. No details as to whether that's blocking lanes. I'm Kelly Danick with Ben and Woods, San Diego's #1 sports station, 97.3 The Fan.
I don't know why I get
firing on all cylinders.
Why do you get so?
I don't
panicked?
know. I mean, I expect someone to be there. They're not there. You get a little flustered.
I don't know what happened to Raul. He dropped off, but I'm sure his point was going to
Again, we don't have a call screener, so it's kind of catch can when it comes to phone calls here on this program.
That was a really good call, though.
Josh tweeted in. He says, he's so excited for SDFC. Got super into the World Cup qualifiers. Now I watch the Premier League, have a team. Almost made FC Dallas my MLS team until the SDFC announcement was made. So just another team to dive headfirst into.
Sure, Mrs. Gorel will appreciate that fully. Small baby at home. That's the hard part, too, is managing your time with all these teams that you want to watch. I know Josh is a big hockey fan as well. It's a lot. It's a lot to digest, and I'm going to try my very best, I promise you, because there's one thing I know about soccer fans. It's not only enough that they watch it, you have to watch it, too. And if you don't, they get mad at you. And I have many friends that treat me that way every single day of my life, so I will do my very best to be all in.
So we just posted a video.
Good news is we're not going to have a lot of Sunday morning 6 a.m. starts for SDFC.
That's true.
Right?
Yeah,
I assume
that's true. Which would actually work. I would be a great Premier League fan. Phenomenal.
Yes, you
I'm
get up
always
early
up
enough
early
to,
as
to
hell,
watch those
even
games.
on the weekends.
Wouldn't you love to have your
Yes.
sports viewing done at 7 a.m. on Sunday?
Every Saturday or Sunday, we go, oh,
then your whole
Everton did
day's
it again.
ruined if they lose.
I'm like, what the hell? But I just hasn't gotten me yet. I'm sorry. I apologize. I wish I was.
So I'd imagine Adam is very excited about this. Sammy just posted a video to our 97.3 The Fan SDX account. And the Padres are doing their normal stretching routine out in Peoria in the morning. Most of them are wearing the poncho giveaway, the 97.3 The Fan Padres ponchos that will be given out on April 2nd. Is it Tuesday, April 2nd?
It is.
And they are all decked out in their ponchos with the 97.3 The Fan logo on them today.
Very interesting.
You don't see baseball teams in ponchos a lot. That's a new look out there.
No, it looks good.
Doing their stretching out on the field this morning.
Really, really good.
It's very exciting. All right, Paul, you got some audio. So I saw Sammy tweet this yesterday, that yesterday's game was televised for the Padres.tv, against the Mariners. But things are a little loose during spring training. And they were about to come back to start, was it the start of the game? Or the start of the second inning, and the Padres
start of the game.
It was start of the game,
yeah,
and they were
pitch.
still in commercial break.
Yep.
I guess they got through the anthem and everything, lineups really fast. So the umpire was ready to go, and they didn't want to miss the start of the game because they were still in the commercial break. So Mudd took it upon himself to step in here.
So time, good to go. Good to go. Nick Lentz, the home plate umpire, was waiting for Mark Grant, who got his attention. We are not back yet. We are back. Ready to play baseball.
So you was about to throw the first pitch of the game.
That's awesome. That's why I love the umpires. That was great. I thought one of two things. He's going to hold it, or he was going to eject me from the ballpark.
Which I was kind of rooting for.
It's great.
So,
they made awful announcing this morning. It's the San Diego Padres color analyst Mark Grant commandeered the start of yesterday's Cactus League game against Seattle because they were still in commercial break.
So, yeah, I mean, if it was at Petco Park, you're too far away, but the booth is very close to home plate at the Peoria Sports Complex. So Mark opened up the window, stuck his head out, screamed at the umpire hold up, we're not back from commercial yet. Don't start the game. And the umpire actually listened to him and called time.
I'm sure the weekend crowds are a little more rowdier than when we were out there.
We went 9,000 people yesterday.
We went to Monday and Tuesday games last week, and I
heard a pin drop.
It was dead silent in between innings. They had music going and stuff, and then as soon as that shut down, Mark, you could just be like, "Hey, and he would hear every word.
When you took the bump when we were there. So they did the pregame, and then you comes out, and he's about to deliver his first pitch, and it sounded like this. And you hear strike. I mean, the one guy was ripping on Manny when he came up to bat, and I told Paul, you could hear every word clear as day. I go, let's just drag that guy into the bag and just take it to him. You're not going to rip on our guy in our house, right? That's not going to happen. But
it was Royals.
We had our media passes on. Probably wouldn't have been a good look for us.
What worried me is so Darvish heard Mudd as well, and he backed off and waited. But if the ump was being a real stickler about it, he then could have just called you for a pitch violation.
But we've seen
started with a 1-0 count for the game.
How many times are we watching a national broadcast or something, and they come back, and you're like, wait, there's an out. How is there an out already? That's exactly what happens. It came back a little bit too early, or they came back too late, and we have to deal with that with the Seals games. It's
I guess
nuts.
it really is on the broadcasters to get out on time and get the commercials run and get back. I mean, it's all supposed to fit properly in that commercial break. Now, Major League Baseball is so intent on shortening the game lengths and being on time. I mean, they have. So we talked about the 18 seconds versus 20 seconds with the runner on base, but they've also changed the rules for when a new pitcher comes into the game. It's 2 minutes from the moment they step onto the warning track coming in from the bullpen to replace the reliever. So if they've got to get their warm-up pitches done efficiently because they want to start those innings. So they don't want TV to not be back and have to hold the game up because that's adding extra seconds that they're trying to shave on the back end. So everyone's kind of got to be in sync. Now, that was a spring training game, and I'm sure the timing was a little off. It's supposed to be orchestrated right down to the second. They're back. Game's ready to go. TV's ready to go. First pitch, and the clock starts, and you're going. But things must have been a little bit off yesterday. And Mudd did not want anyone back in San Diego to miss that first pitch from Darvish.
Well, we can all thank Mudd for always keeping our best interests at heart, because he always does. And, it was a fun little moment from yesterday's spring training game. What time's the game today, Benny? Noon again?
It's 12:10 start.
12:10.
Jesse and Tony with audio and streaming video as well at Padres.com today against the Cubbies.
Okay.
And that's another home game at the Peoria Sports Complex.
I'm ready to get these over with and get everyone healthy and get the real thing going. I'm ready. But yeah, man, there's Adam just tweeted he's losing his mind. Picture of Manny with the 97.3 The Fan logoed poncho that looks phenomenal on Manny and the rest of the guys. It's made for them, right?
Oh, you can see the 97.3 The Fan on this picture too.
Yeah, brilliant.
Look at Manny repping. It's a very unique giveaway, isn't it?
It's cool. It's cool. I'm
glad that
we
we're
got
a part of it.
I'm glad we're on that one too. Very, very cool.
I mean, you get on a bobblehead or something. Those are they're great, but this one is unique and different.
Yeah, it looks good.
And they will stand out at the ballpark. I like the yellow hats stand out at the spring training games as well. I know some people are fans, some people are not fans. My wife loves the one I brought back. She loves
it too.
So.
I wore it all day yesterday. My kids have them. They love them. They look good in them. I like that look. I think the brown jerseys with the yellow hat looks really, really cool. But yeah, so that's it. That's it for us. We're done.
No, we're not.
Oh,
not quite.
2 minutes.
2.5 minutes left.
That's it. Oh yeah, I'd probably put the video up. Them all stretching in their ponchos. That looks incredible. Where's Craig? They not here. We're gonna do. You guys want to do? Crossover.
What do you want to bring up? The fact that Juan Soto is absolutely on fire for the Yankees this
Do
spring.
not care.
I just waste them all right now.
So's Michael King. So's Michael
Waste
King.
them all. That's right.
So is
That's
Drew
right.
Thorpe. So is Vasquez.
Now,
Pitched really well.
All the people involved in that trade.
Everybody's doing well.
Have had a pretty solid spring so far.
Yep.
Both sides of the
I don't care.
coin.
I don't care.
Fair enough. I mean,
Juan
to point
Soto,
that
I will
out.
say, he does look a little more aggressive in his ABs early in spring training. He's got 5 hits, 3 for homers, 2 for doubles.
It's different doing it down in Florida than it is necessarily
absolutely.
doing it at Yankee Stadium in the Bronx.
Absolutely.
We'll see. Real pitchers, real matchups, how it goes for him. I have no doubt he's going to have a good season.
Oh, yeah.
Will it be, like some people are saying, 50 home runs, MVP, going to happen for the Yankees?
Sure
we all
not.
thought that here, and it didn't happen. So there's no guarantee it's going to happen for them either, just because it's a contract season. Not like he wasn't trying to have a good year last year. And he had a good year.
He did.
A really good year.
Yeah.
Was it an MVP season?
No.
We'll see.
No, guys.
They gave up a lot for him. They're expecting a lot out of him.
Guys that are here are pitching well and so far, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah. And we will see Johnny Brito on the mound today. Another one of the Padres acquired from the Yankees after Matt. I think Matt Waldron goes second. I think Johnny Brito's going first today against the Cubs.
I thought Waldron was first, but you may be right.
I think the lineup said Brito.
Yep,
Brito is first in this one today. So we'll see if they continue to progress. I mean, it's been pretty solid, honestly, on the pitching side with the expectations. I mean, we'll see what the back end of the bullpen, a couple of spots up for grabs.
Robert Suarez has been a little bit concerning so far. Again, potentially.
Yeah, the fact that Suarez has been not great and
stuff.
Matsui's been a little hurt gives you a little pause right at the 9th inning for the Padres.
Yep.
But, there's still some time to go before you need to throw someone out against. I mean, hopefully the Padres have a lead against the Dodgers in those first games.
Wouldn't
That
that
would
be
fantastic.
nice? Wouldn't that
All right,
be
I
nice?
see Annie and Elston and Braden. They are ready to go. We are done for a Monday. We'll be back tomorrow morning at 6 a.m. for executive producer and imaging director Paul Reindl. For Stephen Woods, I'm Ben Higgins. Have a great rest of your day from all of us here at 97.3 The Fan. So long.